The story opens with Anfet narrating about himself. I am a true roleplay addict and a casual gamer. Whatever game I play, I throw my heart and soul into becoming the character, without a shred of embarrassment or regret about the role I'm playing. Right now, he is forced to face Edmund. He roars out an insult at the top of his lungs. You wretched human, is running away for dear life all you know how to do? Then he launches another attack aimed straight at Anfet. Hurry up and die so you're out of my sight. His internal train of thought continues. Well, at least that was the case before I logged into this game. He gets attacked and bitterly evaluates this garbage game. Anfet keeps wondering while confronting Edmund, why do I have to suffer this kind of pain? I just wanted to play a game to relax a bit and escape the harsh reality. His lips are tightly pursed, biting down so hard they bleed. In Anfet's hands right now is a long sword, his posture full of determination. This sight makes Edmund burst out laughing. You can still force yourself to stand up with that wrecked body? That's right, die and be done with it. What good is a pathetic creature like you anyway? He doesn't forget to add another remark, am I right? You just want to drop dead and get it over with, don't you? Meanwhile, Anfet raises his weapon high while secretly thinking, I just want to quit this damn roleplay. Pushed to his absolute limit, he screams at the top of his lungs, just to go back home. The moment that sword slashes down is also when Anfet's true desire is revealed. I want to go home. We have to go back to a time before the screen displayed the game interface, confirming the user connection, followed by a short line of text, welcome. Someone's voice echoes out. It all started with my little sister. She excitedly ran outside thinking Dad had come home. The white dress I bought her for her birthday was now stained a deep crimson, pierced through by a pitch-black blade that swallowed even the light. Right after that, a blood-curdling scream echoed, Irina, no. The brutal scene is mirrored in Anfet's pupils. Next was his eldest brother, who used to be the commander of the Night Order, and right after him was his eldest sister, the one who took over the leader position after he passed away. The girl with white hair decisively rushed forward to demand justice. You bastard. Hazy memories make Anfet wonder, did tears fall from the corners of her eyes back then? Even if they did, those tears were quickly swallowed up by bloody tears. A bizarre hand from behind reaches out toward Anfet. My mother was screaming something. She anxiously pushes him back. Run, hurry, my child. Was the thing in mother's hand at that moment a kitchen knife or father's sword? Anfet burst into tears at that moment while screaming, please, I am a knight too. But his attempt to join the fight yields nothing. No, you must run right now. The massacre was still going on. I think our father had come home too. And then Anfet can confirm his memory after that moment is a complete blur. All I knew was to grab a sword. Next, the world around him suddenly turns blood red, then shifts to stark white, and finally sinks into darkness, until illuminated only by the faint, lonely moonlight. The blade plunged straight into my right arm and sank deep into the flesh. Anfet's steps stumble, unable to even stand firm. Right after that, he loses his balance and collapses to the ground. Right now, a deeply eerie voice echoes from behind. What a perfect vessel. The demonic hand reaches toward Anfet despite his pleas. No. This guy places his hand on Anfet's face and continues. Will you go on to become someone truly great? He can only shed tears, helplessly begging in his heart. I pray, hoping for a soul strong enough to overpower this evil nature. A powerful entity that will not succumb to evil. Someone who can stand up and conquer the demons, please manifest, my lord. Can you hear my call? Returning to the present, Anfet starts awake with a cry. He still hasn't recovered from these memories, when unexpectedly, George's extremely impatient voice rings out, cutting off his train of thought. Hey kid, are you gonna get off the carriage or what? The place where Anfet stopped is the Tatara trading post location. He doesn't respond to George or show a single bit of emotion, but when Anfet suddenly stands up, the man flinches. He decisively steps down from the carriage without saying a single word. Anfet's feet touch the ground unhurriedly. George looks at his retreating back and can't help feeling so annoyed that he mutters a curse. What a arrogant, annoying brat. Even though he hears those words, Anfet still shows no emotion. But the truth is inside his heart he has been screaming non-stop. Oh man, that roleplay was absolutely top-notch. When I was watching the opening cutscene, I actually thought that was my real past. The realistic feeling leading into the beginner tutorial is seriously amazing. On top of that, these NPCs look as lively as real people. If I were allowed to, I probably would have danced wildly right in the middle of the street. It's just the opening and it's already like this. Am I even gonna be able to maintain my character persona? Anfet looks at the space in front of him and continues thinking. The game just released today, and this place, Tatara Trading Post, is the beginner area. 15 years ago, this tragic masterpiece of a family game was shut down after just 5 years of operation. And what I'm experiencing right now is the VR remake. I'm a gamer who has been desperately waiting for the day this game came back to life, and also a pure roleplay fanatic. Anthet covers his face and mutters, "These comments are so painful to look at." But after that, even he has to ask himself, wait, normally I wouldn't even bother adding this symbol. My hands were just itching to try it out once. Even though I'm just a normal casual gamer, I'm not some edgy kid trying to look dangerous. At this point, everyone's probably curious what kind of image I'm roleplaying as, right? Not curious? Whatever, just listen anyway because it's super cool. He even prepared a detailed concept sketch. Let me show you this character sketch I drew myself. Anthet unhurriedly presents, my character class is Demon Knight, a high difficulty Demon Knight. When the demon that slaughtered his family took up residence in his arm, he turned his back on the path of righteous knighthood to begin a wandering journey. Even though he utterly hates the demon inside his right arm, it grants him extraordinary power. He uses that very power to hunt down all demon kind. He uses swift and fierce techniques that perfectly match his violent yet deeply sensitive personality. The demon that killed my family is now residing inside this arm. I have no idea when it will completely consume me. Anthet continues thinking of another terrible scenario, and once I am completely controlled by it, the people around me will also lose their lives just like my family did back then, by the hands of none other than. Anthet at this moment asserts it once more, it's me who fears that scenario happening. I always keep my distance from everyone, because I'm always terrified of being consumed. My mind is constantly stretched tight like a bowstring. I hide the anxious solitude in my heart behind a cold, sharp exterior. Right now he says to himself with great excitement, and that is precisely my character persona. Spent a fortune dumping money into this character. But I don't regret it one bit. This cloak fluttering in the wind. This armored left arm clanking. The fact that Anthet is bouncing around in the middle of the street makes the people around him wonder, what's wrong with that guy? Is he taking a leak here? This is exactly why I love playing roleplay classes. Hearing that, he immediately regains his cold demeanor. Indulging in self-satisfaction wasted too much time. Now, the real roleplay begins. So what am I supposed to do next? Let's see. Normally around this time a quest board should pop up, right? After waiting for a while, Anthet still sees nothing. Where's the mini-map? Where's the quest log? What the hell? Or am I supposed to sit here and wait for an NPC to bring the plot to me? But unexpectedly, a voice rings out from behind at this moment, "Excuse me, are you the Demon Knight adventurer?" Anthet rejoices secretly in his heart, here it comes. He slowly turns around to face the person who just called his name, though his face remains expressionless, inside he is extremely puzzled. No dialogue options at all? I thought there'd at least be a few keywords popping up to respond with. Usually there should be, right? The young boy standing opposite him now speaks up, "Is it really you, sir?" Anthet replies coldly, "No, it's actually me." Then he lowers his voice and issues a command, "Lead the way." His intimidating appearance frightens the boy into obediently agreeing, "Why yes, sir." The boy turns around and starts leading the way. "You want to go to the Adventurers Guild, right? Please follow me." Anthet, watching from behind, secretly evaluates, "Look at how timid this kid is. He looks just like a real child in real life." He imagines himself greeting him in a super friendly way, "Don't be so scared, I'm actually really friendly." Walking along, Anthet comments, "How can they design people in streets to be so unbelievably realistic?" Various conversations echo all around, "You need to pay more." But then the profit margin. Rebel army, demons. He makes another comment identical to that worker NPC earlier. These lines don't sound like pre-programmed dialogue, it's like real-time reactions. Then again, no matter how real it feels, it's just an NPC in a game. VR technology was only commercialized a short while ago, but the pace of development is truly mind-blowing. Finally, the boy stops at a certain location. "We're here, sir." Anthet glances over and slowly looks around. This crowded place is the Tatara Adventurers Guild location. The boy approaches and quickly speaks up, "Receptionist, I brought the adventurer." Inside, Anthet's heart is screaming endlessly, "Oh my god, are these sounds and graphics for real? Look at that floor texture, even the feeling of stepping on it feels just like real wooden planks. Did the publisher kidnap aliens to force them to make this game or what?" Greeting him is a girl named Isrin. "You've arrived, sir?" She smiles and introduces herself, "Pleasure to meet you." I am Isran, a receptionist at the Tatara Adventurers Guild. Your appearance is so striking that I recognized you immediately. You are the Demon Knight, correct? Following standard procedure, could you please show me your adventurer badge? Anthet glances at the notification panel appearing beside him. Inventory. You can open your inventory by reaching into empty space, thinking of the item you want, and gripping tightly. He mutters in confusion, "Hey, with the panel popping up right in front of my eyes like this, how am I supposed to see ahead? Especially when I can only see out of one good eye. Everything else is absolute perfection." Then they go and mess up the status board display position. Guess there are still a few human flaws after all. Anthet pulls out the badge, and just a moment later, Isran quickly responds, "Yes, it has been verified. May I lead you to accept the request right away? The client is currently in an extremely urgent situation." Hearing this, he slowly agrees. Lead the way. Following behind Isran, Anthet is bursting with excitement. Finally, the long-awaited tutorial quest. If it's like the original, I already know the general flow of what happens next, but I'm still so nervous. However, when Vincent sees him, a comment is uttered. This guy looks even weirder than the rumors. There probably isn't a second person with such an unlucky-looking face. But thanks to that, he's easy to recognize. So, you accepted the request without even knowing the details? Is it bravery, or do you have a death wish? Her blunt way of speaking causes Isran beside him to give a reminder, Guildmaster. While Anthet himself secretly evaluates, man, this NPC old man has a fierce, hot temper, but it's fine, because this old geezer is just a pile of code anyway. Which means I can flame an virtual old man as much as I want without feeling a shred of guilt. But Anthet immediately reconsiders. There are a few cases where if your affinity points aren't high enough, they won't give you the quest. But since this is the tutorial section, he'll probably have to give it to me no matter what, right? Meanwhile, Vincent is still pressing him. Are you deaf? Why are you sitting there quiet as a mouse? Isran hurriedly speaks up to stop him. Guildmaster, please watch your language a bit. By now he has finished his calculations. Alright, I've got my line ready. Anthet gets completely into character as he makes his declaration. Your tongue is quite disrespectful. Both Isran and Vincent drop their jaws in unison upon hearing this sentence. Their reaction confuses him. Huh? Why are these NPCs acting so surprised? But immediately after, Anthet rationalizes it for himself. Could it be that these NPCs, looking back now, I should have realized it right then and there. Anthet is still puzzled seeing the scene in front of him. Why are these NPCs acting so surprised? Before his eyes is information about Vincent, the guildmaster of the Ma Ben Merchant Guild. Let's see if you can keep that arrogant attitude after hearing the details. Follow me. Reading this far, Anthet gets confused. Huh? Shouldn't the quest storyline have popped up by now? The next person to speak is Isran. Demon Knight, are you really accepting this without knowing the details? He evaluates in his heart. If I actually wanted to do it, I'd do it because the game plot forces me to. But with realistic reactions like this, a roleplay addict like me absolutely loves it. Thanks a lot. Roleplaying is part of the experience anyway. After thinking for a bit, Anthet slowly speaks up. Thus, his attitude shows clear dissatisfaction. Are you implying that what I'm about to go handle could cost me my life? Anthet even glares at her and demands, those trash creatures? Isran is completely terrified seeing this reaction. Fortunately, Vincent speaks up to interrupt at this moment. Instead of talking nonsense, hurry up and assign the job. If you don't mind taking this work, we are more than happy to give it to you. Philip explains on his behalf, something's going on in the sewers. We sent several workers down, but not a single one has returned. According to those who went down later, they said a demon nest has taken root deep inside. I don't think those workers who haven't returned are still alive. So the task is to eliminate the demon nest and retrieve their bodies or belongings. At this point, Vincent joins in. The demon hunters who went before all lost their lives down there, and the temple side works at a snail's pace, constantly telling us to wait longer. I called you here because I heard rumors of your skill, but with that skinny body of yours, can you even lift a sword? His careless question causes Isran to hurriedly stop the guildmaster. But the truth is Anthet is secretly wondering, why hasn't the quest panel popped up yet? Or does it only show up after I accept? He slowly speaks, don't lump me in with those weaklings, it's just cleaning out a sewer. That confident statement annoys Vincent. Arrogant, aren't we? Seeing this, Philip hurriedly calls out. Guildmaster Anfet merely chuckles secretly, avoiding their gazes. I did try to act cool on purpose, but his reaction is so realistic it makes me want to explain myself to clarify things. Whatever, ultra-realistic NPCs are way better than sitting around listening to other players complain. Once again, Isrin speaks up to wrap things up. So you're accepting this quest, correct? Anfet asserts decisively. That's right. She begins carrying out the process mechanically, then let me draft the contract. The quest objective is to eradicate the demons in the sewers, with an optional objective to recover the workers' belongings. Next, Isrin turns to ask Philip, how many workers haven't returned? He quickly provides the information, 13 people in total. She continues asking, what is the time limit for the quest? Philip explains in detail, it's 1 month. But since you traveled from afar to get here, I will give you 2 extra days. Meanwhile, Anfet is secretly wondering, traveled all the way here and the quest board still hasn't popped up, having to talk through everything to push the story forward like this. The developers must really be aiming for an ultra-realistic experience. Isrin smiles as she talks about the payment. The reward is 400,000 gallons. After deducting the guild's 5% commission fee, you will receive 380,000 gallons. The impressive figure shocks him. 380,000? Just a tutorial quest and the reward is this high? Wait, why is there a commission fee deduction? It's just in-game money anyway, 5% isn't much, but why do I still feel so pained inside? What's with this feeling of disappointment? She smiles brightly and adds as the paperwork is completed, the contract has been finalized. When you come back to report quest completion, just come to the guild and find me. Isrin turns to Vincent to get the final signature. Sir, please sign here as well. Right now, an info panel finally pops up in front of Anfet. The quest content is, things polluting the sewers, eliminate the demons, find belongings, find traces of fallen adventurers, rescue the child. Reading this, he is slightly surprised. He didn't expect the quest board to only show up after signing the contract. These developers are total creeps, but this setting makes Anfet feel extremely satisfied. Then again, I actually kind of like this style. Philip speaks up again from behind. I've booked an in-room under the Merchant Guild's name. Guild members will guide you. Here is a map of the sewers, you don't need to return it. Seeing the paper laid out, he is a bit surprised. Even the mini-map is handmade? At this moment, Philip declares with utmost seriousness, then we are counting on you. Anfet observes him and notes his worry for someone who might go and never return. Even so, the gaze and voice are those of a person doing their duty. The NPCs are designed with astonishing subtlety. I'm so nervous, it feels like I'm about to step onto a theater stage. Then he simply replies coldly, once I take the money, failure is absolutely not an option. The heavy iron gate is slowly raised. Anfet at this moment is ready to head outside. The gatekeeper doesn't forget to call out after him, we're relying on you, sir. Those demons have been giving me a massive headache. Anfet merely replies silently, yeah, I know, I get it already. The weapon he uses is the Great Sword of Destruction, a massive sword capable of crushing and destroying any obstacle. It strikes terror into any enemy standing in its path. That's why I had to haul this super cool greatsword along, right? Coming out of the gate, Anfet tests his weapon. He slaughters a rat, but its loud squeak startles Anfet. His face is filled with utter confusion. Whoa, why was that sound so loud? Did its durability drop? I swear I only tapped it lightly. Durability of the sword, 99/100. Anfet continues analyzing, the sewers are probably really narrow. Using a huge weapon like this could easily get stuck halfway. Time to switch to something else. He switches to using a different weapon, long sword, the most widely used type of sword, featuring good balance and high versatility. Anfet thinks to himself with great satisfaction, alright, now I'm ready for a real hunt. Then he slowly steps forward. Oscar watches Anfet's retreating back and mutters a comment. This guy is as terrifying as the rumors say. He has the coolest aura out of all the demon hunters I've ever seen. If only his abilities were as top tier as his appearance, that'd be great. As time passes, Anfet is now extremely irritated. You filthy demons. He continuously delivers decisive slashes. Come at me, you damn bugs. His footwork is exceptionally swift and precise. Anfet slays the group of goblins as easily as turning over his hand. His eyes burn with intense determination. I'll send you all back to the trash heap you crawled out of. The corpses of the goblins lie scattered on the ground. Anthet advances forward while making a bored comment, no challenge at all. Quest information pops up before him, things polluting the sewers, eliminate the demons, find belongings, find traces of fallen adventurers, rescue the child. Anthet mutters as he walks, can't believe they left this mess alone until it reached this point before doing something about it. The train of thought in his head is rich and vibrant. Besides, after hunting this many demons, how is not a single piece of gear dropped? This trash game is way too stingy. No wonder the tutorial quest pays so much money. Turns out it's because it doesn't drop any loot at all. Anthet even considers taking a risk, feeling so frustrated he wants to search the corpses by hand. He stops and looks up at someone bound by vines, but the current situation is a bit tricky. Because this kid is staring straight at me after all. Afterwards, Anthet decisively cuts through all the vines, and easily catches Pao by the leg. Even though the little boy is in an uncomfortable position, he speaks politely, "Thank you, sir." This fulfills one objective of the Rescue the Child quest. Anthet observes his companion and evaluates silently. This kid looks a bit older than the little sister in the opening cutscene. Speaking of my character's backstory again. To think the demon that killed my sister is residing right inside my own body. It's a miracle I haven't gone insane. In my personal status panel, it just says I have a sensitive personality. Either way, I saved this child, unlike my poor little sister who had to die so tragically. I'm not the type to rattle on with cliché lines like, "This kid reminds me of my sister." But my character would probably be a bit gentler toward children, right? But before touching the boy, Anthet asks himself, then again, patting his head with this demon-possessed hand might be a bit much, wouldn't it? Protecting the weak is ultimately a knight's duty. Hearing this, Pao asks back without delay, "Are you a knight, sir?" He merely turns his head and lazily admits, "Of course, I won't be rude to children." Partly due to my character concept, and partly because of these ultra-realistic NPCs, they walk together while chatting. "Why were you stuck in a place like this?" Patrick explains simply, "My mom came down here to clean the sewers and never came back, so I came down here to look for her, even taking the blame on myself." "I'm sorry." Hearing this, Anthet is completely moved. "Oh Lord, that sounds so tragic. Children deserve to be happy." But on the outside, he keeps a cold front to remind him, "This isn't your business, you should have trusted the adults and waited obediently." The boy awkwardly admits his fault, "I'm sorry." This reaction makes Anthet just want to hug Pao and comfort him. "Oh man, this kid, what do you have to apologize for? Coming down here to find your mom and suffering in a place like this. It's making me want to cry right along with you." On the outside, he reminds him again, "Don't apologize to me, I'm not the one who deserves that apology. Let's try showing the items I just found to the kid." The child recognizes his mother's belongings. The boy sobs so pitifully. I don't have the heart to tell him to stop, but leaving him here is out of the question. I have no choice but to tuck the kid, who passed out from exhaustion, under my arm and carry him outside. I heard VR games often use motion capture with real actors for NPCs. They must have hired a child actor who did an incredible performance to get an aura like this, right? Even knowing it's fake, it's so hard to treat it as fake. Once again, Anthet marvels, "Seriously, thank goodness this is just a game." At this moment, an info panel appears before him. Purifying demon-infested areas can be done by burning them with holy power or pure flames. If the purification isn't completed, the demons will just appear again. Please make sure that the demons never show themselves on this land ever again. Anthet thought to himself, if I had taken the time to read that notification a bit more carefully back then, would I have felt even a fraction less regret later on? Patrick burst inside with a loud shout, requesting reinforcements. Our merchant guild signal flare was just fired right near here. He presented the details with utmost urgency. The red flare means there are heavy casualties. Patrick even added an exclamation, "It's an emergency." Meanwhile, on this side, countless people had already lost their lives, and those who survived were hiding in sheer terror. The look on their faces was pure horror. Anthet's narration opened up another story. Not too long ago, it took a while after coming out of the sewers for the child to regain his senses. The little boy had spoken up optimistically back then. "My mom is beside the Lord and happy now, right?" Hearing this, he thought secretly to himself, if there's a god in this world, it's the game developers. Then again, unless those game devs are total creeps, she'll definitely be happy. Though it really makes you wonder. Isrin greeted the two of them with a confused expression. "Adventurer, did you come here for something?" She tilted her head in confusion. "What's with that child?" Anthet briefly explained Pao's background. "He's a worker's kid. Heard he snuck into the sewers on his own to look for his parents. If you want details, ask him yourself. He then held out a bag. Take this too. Isrin received it with a bewildered expression. What's this? Anfet observed her and wondered secretly. I was just going to show it to you, but you yanked it right out of my hand. This thing weighs almost as much as a toddler, no joke. Isrin asked again out of curiosity. Hearing that, he unhurriedly explained, the recovered belongings of this kid's mother are in there too. That answer left her somewhat bewildered. Are these items the belongings of all 13 people? Anfet knitted his brows and asked back in confusion, what else do they look like? Isrin immediately shifted her attitude. Ah, right. I'll transfer them to the client and verify their identities. She began inspecting the contents inside, all these adventurer badges too. The expression on Isrin's face softened visibly. She held up the bag and spoke, on behalf of the guild, I express our deepest gratitude to you. Anfet thought to himself, if you're grateful, mean it for real. I had to fumble around that entire sewer without a single objective marker. He had struggled immensely back then. Where the heck did the waypoints go? Ultra realistic, my ass. Still, hearing her thank me in such a choked up voice actually cools off my annoyance a bit. This level of immersion is honestly terrifying. Right then, Isrin spoke up once again. So, is your hunting trip for today ending here? That question left Anfet thoroughly baffled. What a weird thing to say. When would a player ever just stop grinding quests? Seeing that he didn't answer, Isrin pivoted the topic. Are you planning to head back down to the sewers again? Though it might be better if you rested a bit. This question stunned Anfet even more. Rest? Rest for what? I smashed my savings jar open to prepare for an all-night gaming binge. Wait, what even is an all-night gaming binge? It's locking yourself inside a gaming pod for over 24 hours without caring about food or sleep. That's what. Those gaming neurotransmitter boosters are stupidly expensive. Or is there still some hidden chain quest down in the sewers? Is that line subtly hinting for me to take a break and come back because this quest line is way longer? I don't really get what you mean. Why would I ever need to go back down to that sewer again? But then Anfet formed a guess. Does it have something to do with that purification thing? I only came back up because I was scared of taking gas suffocation damage. Are you trying to hand me a quest? You mean you want me to do the purification job too? However, Isrin was completely clueless. Huh? What do you mean? Purification? She asked back in confusion. I was only asking just in case. Have you completely cleared out all the demons in the sewers? Hearing that, Anfet questioned her right back. Of course. Why else do you think I made the effort to come all the way back here? Isrin hesitantly presented her thoughts. To return this child. He wondered in confusion. I couldn't have cleared that place out that fast, right? Yet her reaction is so dramatic, it's super annoying. Is she looking down on me? The annoyance in his expression made Isrin immediately deny it. I absolutely did not mean to look down on you, sir. I sincerely apologize, Lord Adventurer. As for the child you saved, we will take responsibility for taking care of him. Please wait a moment, I'll go invite the client over. Follow me. Anfet decided to interact with the UI menu. While waiting, I should take the opportunity to check my skill tree and see the stat increases from earlier. A few notification windows popped up. Things polluting the sewers. Speak with the client next. Isrin placed a shining bag of money on the table. Here is your quest reward. 400,000 gallons. Seeing it, Anfet was completely blown away. These game devs are brutal. Looks like money really can only be earned through quests. They put all their soul into the realism of this game. Recalling 15 years ago, doing quests only gave pocket change, and you had to make money by picking up mob drops. Philip was the one who spoke up to explain the next steps. We will cover the brokerage fee ourselves. We will also buy back the loot obtained from the demons at a good price. Hearing this, he continued thinking, now that I think about it, I think there was a monster dissection skill in the life skills tree. Looks like I could make money off that too, though even if I knew beforehand, I still would have chosen combat skills. The reason being, petty cash from those pests isn't even worth bothering over. Those words accurately reflected Anfet's true purpose. That's right, a true roleplay fanatic chooses character skills that fit the persona they're playing. Besides, Legend of Heroes isn't a party-based game. It's a single-player game. Which means I can pick whatever I want without worrying if it fits a party role or not. Hopefully more cool skills unlock later on, like these ones. Anfet didn't forget to remind himself, but if I want that, I need to push through the main story quickly to level up. And then he addressed the staff, is this all there is to the work here? Then Anfet turned to leave, then there's no reason to stick around. I'm off. Right then, a notification panel appeared in front of him, things polluting the sewers, quest completed. Anfet was caught off guard for a moment. Right at that time, a voice yelled out from outside, Guildmaster. Guildmaster, are you in here? It's an emergency. Vincent grumpily snapped back, is your ass on fire or something? What's with barging in here like a wild horse? His way of speaking made Anfet comment to himself, this old guy is just like those foul-mouthed but soft-hearted grandpas at the neighborhood entrance. Peak character design. However, Patrick rushed in with an extremely hurried expression, there's an emergency rescue request. He explained the situation, our merchant guild signal flare was just fired near here. Vincent shouted in shock, what? Patrick continued explaining what was happening, we notified the Holy City Guards, but they're acting way too slowly. Right now, Anfet commented in his mind, classic early game trope, quickly triggering the next questline. The moment he heard those words, Vincent rushed forward, those bastards take so much tax money and do such a crap job. Send our people out immediately. He even urged Anfet, you go too. Inside his mind, he replied, yeah, I'm going, but at least let me finish the line I prepared first. But on the outside, he maintained his cold demeanor, don't order me around. The moment he finished speaking, Vincent grumpily cut him off, it's a request. A request, you brat. I'll pay you handsomely, so go and come back quick. Anfet walked toward the door while calling back, contract accepted. Lead the way. Patrick quickly responded, yes, sir. Isran added as well, safe travels. We'll have a contract ready waiting for your return. Quest info appeared right after, people in peril of option, rendezvous with mercenaries, move to the combat zone, eliminate attackers. Bonus reward, number of survivors. Seeing that, Anfet thought with satisfaction, sweet. The quest board popped up. Patrick then suggested, now, let's go regroup with the mercenaries. However, he cut him off, no need. Take me straight to where people are needed. Anfet's gaze was locked onto the final line of the quest board. Looks like a bad omen. No matter how you look at it, this is a race against time, there's no time to go regroup. Vincent reminded him once more from behind, just let him go. If he can clean out a sewer by himself, he won't die that easily. That information surprised Patrick. What? As for Anfet himself, he was thoroughly satisfied, spot on, old man. He quickly led the way, then let's set off immediately. Horses are available nearby. Hearing this, he felt super excited inside, riding horses? Piece of cake. I'm actually pretty famous in horse riding simulator games, no joke. Anfet said to himself, just hold on until I get there, my precious EXP. The sky right now bore a deadly shade of red, hooves pounded hard against the ground, both horse and rider charging swiftly through the forest. When did Anfet join the fray? Victory belongs to my blade. He expertly handled the sword in his hand, goblins dying the moment they crossed paths with Anfet. His face was dead serious as he made his declaration. Glory belongs to heaven. The victims all shouted out at once with different reactions. Reinforcements are here. Wait, there's only one person? Is it the vanguard? Please save me. A few of them were trying hard to resist. No, stay away. The final reinforcements are here. I can't die here. Suddenly, the goblin in front was brought down. Anfet dismounted decisively and shot forward like an arrow. The place Anfet targeted was where the goblins were gathered the thickest. As he drew near, he slowed down while speaking up. Did you just beg for your life to be saved? Then consider your wish granted. A promise was delivered right after. I will bleed every last one of them dry before your blood runs out. The victim heard this in utter confusion. All by yourself. Anfet unhurriedly continued, not worth my answer. His eyes flashed with a few sharp, crimson rays of immense, overwhelming momentum. Anfet declared loudly, I'll tear you pests to shreds. He delivered multiple slashes and shattered the goblins' formation. Single-handedly, Anfet successfully broke through their encirclement. The innocent citizens could only watch with wide, shocked eyes. His appearance right now looked extraordinary. Someone suddenly cried out, that person is. They looked at Anfet with a hint of fear, a monster? From another side, another voice rang out, what is with this murderous aura? The Inquisitor stated unhurriedly, Archmage, tomorrow at first light, we must set out immediately for the Tatara trading post. The response to her was a question. Why is that? The Inquisitor gave a brief explanation. I sense an extremely powerful demonic aura in that direction. The system displayed, people in peril, option, move to combat zone, eliminate attackers. Bonus reward, number of survivors 3052. Anfet thought to himself, I know it's an ultra-realistic game, but did you really have to go as far as splattering monster meat onto my face like this? A young adventurer spoke up, I don't know who you are, but thank you so much. It's all thanks to your help. Suddenly, Anfet heard blood-curdling screams. This is demonic aura corrosion. The system displayed, demonic aura corrosion. Those attacked by demons have a certain chance of having their bodies corrupted by demonic aura. A man was surrounded by swirls of black demonic aura. The system continued to display, as the corrosion level increases, the body suffers various debuffs, with the risk of mutating into a demon. The young adventurer from earlier asked anxiously, is there no cure? Another young man answered, we have sedatives. But Anfet thought secretly, right, the original game had a system like this too, didn't it? In the original, every time you took damage from demons, the corrosion gauge would build up at a set rate. Corrosion levels stacked in increments like 20%, 30%, 40%, all the way to 100%. Anfet thought to himself, since the Demon Knight class is completely immune to this, I totally forgot about it. The reason being, Demon Knights are already demon-possessed to begin with. Anfet felt secretly pleased. Anyway, I happen to have a few items in my bag that are pretty useful for this. Oh well, since the reward scales with the number of survivors, might as well just use them up. He quickly reached his hand into his inventory bag. A screen featuring various types of items appeared. Anfet handed a potion bottle to the young adventurer. Take this. The young man asked in surprise, can I really have this? The system displayed, demonic antidote, a miraculous potion capable of purifying demonic aura corroding the human body. Helps suppress demon-induced madness and brings temporary peace. The young man hastily replied, thank you so much. Anfet spoke, use it. Then he tossed antidote, bandages, and sedatives toward the young man. The young man was a bit flustered. Whoa, thank you so much. The adventurer quickly shouted, hey everyone, that sir over there just gave us medicine and bandages. Hurry up and gather the corroded and injured over here. Anfet felt secretly satisfied. No wonder the game gave me so many beginner items, turns out they were meant for moments like this. The system displayed, people in peril, option, move to combat zone, eliminate attackers. Bonus reward, number of survivors 2752. Anfet thought to himself, is there anything left to do? The number of survivors seems locked in at this point. Suddenly, he heard the sound of approaching horses. Everyone around showed expressions of joy. Reinforcements are here. The system displayed, people in peril, quest completed. Anfet thought to himself, oh, the completion panel finally showed up. The system continued to display, people in peril 2, recover bodies 25, recover belongings. Anfet genuinely didn't understand what the system meant this time. He asked himself, do I really have to clean up this entire battlefield again? The system continued displaying the exact same info from earlier. Anfet stared back at it in silent helplessness. He felt secretly angry, his self-esteem severely wounded. A moment later, Anfet stood leaning against a tree trunk with his arms crossed. He thought to himself, then again, it seems like the work done by the NPCs counts toward my quest progress too. In that case, I'll just stand still and watch. Two annoyed reinforcement soldiers muttered, so what if he handled all the monsters single-handedly? Arrogant as hell, look at that smug face of his, standing there watching with his arms crossed. Anfet kept a cold exterior, but inside he felt secretly satisfied. Mutter and curse all you want. You guys are just NPCs anyway. Standing back lazily watching others work sure feels great. One reinforcement soldier felt secretly uncomfortable under his glare. Why do I feel like? Suddenly, one of the reinforcement soldiers spoke up. Why did the demons? I never thought I'd experience something this horrifying in the West. If it were a barbarian invasion, at least I could understand it. Anfet thought to himself, seeing how they weave in such detailed dialogue lines, it's definitely to pave the way for the next plotline. The two reinforcement soldiers continued discussing. A few bodies went missing. What? Once you're dead, where can you go on your own? I don't know. But even counting the incomplete corpses, the count is still way too low. One person advised, for now, let's head back to the city, our lives are what matters most. The other spoke with annoyance, they collect so much tax from the people, yet they don't even bother properly clearing out the demons. This time, I'm definitely going to the city lord to demand compensation no matter what. Anfet thought to himself, missing bodies? That definitely involves demon cultists or dark cultists. A setup like this will inevitably lead to a chain quest to track down the mastermind. Suddenly, a reinforcement soldier called out to him, all cleaned up. Let's head back. The system displayed, people in peril 2, recover bodies 25/25, recover belongings 30/30. Anfet quickly stepped toward the carriage. Let's go. Scene change. Vincent spoke unhurriedly, good work. Anfet replied, just make sure the payment is fair. Vincent replied in annoyance, you think I'm so poor I'd skip out on paying an adventurer? Wait a second. He suddenly slammed his walking stick hard onto the floor. And also, Vincent glanced at Anfet, I want to assign another quest to you. He replied immediately, out with it. Philip spoke up, Guildmaster, right now our merchant guild doesn't have anything so urgent that we need to hire a new mercenary. Vincent answered irritably, what else could it be? Eliminating demons, what else? The location is in the northwestern forest. Isran hurriedly spoke up, Guildmaster, hasn't that place already been assigned to other adventurers from our guild? Vincent scolded her angrily, I'm doing this because there hasn't been a single peep of news about them wrapping things up. Do you have any idea how many people rely on that northwestern forest to make a living? I don't have time to sit around waiting any longer. Now that I've seen his skills with my own eyes, I've decided to dispatch him immediately. Anfet thought to himself, this old guy may have a gruff, blunt temper, but he's actually a good person who cares about others. I quite like old man character concepts like this. He spoke up, so you mean I just need to go eliminate the demon in the northwestern forest, right? Isran replied, that's right. If you're that certain, I will handle the quest transfer paperwork immediately. However, regarding the adventurers who had set out previously, Vincent snapped, they didn't do their jobs right and got kicked to the curb. What does that have to do with me? What do you expect me to do? Philip watched the two of them argue helplessly, while Anfet maintained a completely expressionless face. Isran replied to Vincent, well, you still have to pay the contract cancellation fee out of your own pocket, don't you? Philip spoke up, so I take it you agree to accept this quest, then? A moment later, Philip said to Anfet, it's getting late, so I'll lead you to the inn to rest. We can discuss the job details further on the way. Scene changed to the next morning. That day was a bright, sunny day. The system displayed, lurking threat in the northwestern forest. Move to the northwestern forest. Anfet was sitting in the carriage being driven to the destination. He secretly cursed the game developer. What kind of crazy game is this? To actually make a leg fatigue feature feel this realistic? Sitting in a carriage for 10 hours straight. Does this game seriously not have a travel skip feature? What kind of glory and wealth was I expecting that I ended up torturing myself with hardcore role-playing like this? The apprentice boy sitting next to him looked at him with eyes full of admiration. This made Anfet feel proud. Still, seeing this apprentice kid look at me with such admiration is somewhat comforting. Regardless, the NPC design in this game is top tier. Endure the pose, endure the pose. Once I pass this quest, there's a double rewards event. Scene change back to early morning that same day. After resting for the night at the inn, an official contract was drafted under the guidance of the assistant from the Ma Ben Merchant Guild. Philip spoke up, I won't rush you to set off today, but I really hope you can resolve it as quickly as possible. Anfet replied coldly, name the compensation. Philip quickly answered, the bounty on that monster's head is 700,000 gallons. Anfet felt secretly thrilled, whoa. The quest reward goes all the way up to 700,000 gallons? But on the outside, he remained expressionless, and Philip replied, since this is a personal contract, I will personally add a 200,000 gallons bonus out of my own pocket if you bring back its head. Anfet was thoroughly astonished by this information. However, he felt a bit helpless seeing Philip's reaction. No, my end, was just asking if we were signing the contract as is. Zero negotiation skill. Wait, the skill leveled up out of nowhere? I didn't even put points into the negotiation skill. This quest existed in the original game too, but I recall it being minor. Is this just pre-scripted dialogue? Or can players negotiate rewards on their own even without the skill? Philip seemed quite anxious seeing Anfet not responding. He immediately spoke louder, alright, I'll add another 300,000 gallons, and that's my absolute limit. Anfet felt himself instantly let out a long inner gasp. Mom, your son seems to have a talent for getting rich. Or should I just keep this edgy, cool aura in real life too? However, contrary to his inner excitement, Anfet simply replied coldly, understood. Have the money ready, I'm setting off immediately. Philip hurriedly called out, wait. You plan to leave right now? You could totally rest for a day and then. Anfet replied, I don't have time to waste while demons are present. Scene changed to the present. He was now sitting inside the carriage. Anfet calculated secretly, once I max out my level and have nothing to do, I'll try out the real estate system in the game. I bet that feature is crafted really well. The boy suddenly asked in curiosity, Sir, are you an adventurer? Anfet thought to himself, honestly, this character joining the Adventurers Guild was just to earn money. But he probably doesn't consider himself an adventurer, right? More like a solitary avenger wandering around. No, I am not. The boy awkwardly lowered his eyes and replied, Oh, I see. Anfet felt a wave of guilt. Whoa, was my answer too cold? He quickly followed up, but I do similar work. Did you have something you wanted to ask? The boy immediately asked with excitement. Yes. Have you ever seen the ocean, sir? Anfet felt secretly delighted. Ah, that's so cute. The kid NPC design in this game is incredible, the expressions and actions are just like real kids. Yet he still replied expressionlessly, I have. I wonder what the ocean looks like, sir. Anfet answered, it is deep blue, just like your eyes, and rolls with soft waves, just like your hair. The boy was surprised, my eyes look like the ocean? Anfet replied, that's right. A moment later, Anfet commented to himself, even though the ride was a bit sore, the trip to the northwestern forest went fairly smoothly. And I couldn't have anticipated that in that place. In the forest, he quickly raised his weapon to block an attack. The girl attacking him, the Inquisitor, roared with rage, born a human, yet you dare betray the Lord. In the name of God, I shall punish you. Anfet felt secretly stunned, to think I'd clash with that very person. Anfet began venturing deeper into the northwestern forest. Suddenly, a system window appeared before him. The system displayed enemy detection. Enemy detection is the most fundamental element in combat. It allows you to sense murderous intent. Anfet felt secretly pleased. I was just wondering when I'd ever find the demon in this vast forest. But with an assist skill, things are completely different. The system abruptly turned red, hostile target detected within 10 meters. Anfet froze in surprise at the alert. What is this? Already? He thought. The Inquisitor roared, born human, yet you dare betray God? In the name of the Lord, she suddenly lunged at him. Her eyes burned with zeal as she raised her weapon, ready to strike. Anfet's eyes widened in sheer shock at the surreal turn of events. He hastily reached back to grab his sword, drew it, and barely parried her incoming strike. I will smite you, she screamed. Man, that hit heavy, Anfet muttered to himself. My sword's durability is about to hit rock bottom at this rate. He delivered a powerful forward slash, forcing the Inquisitor back. She quickly caught her footing, arresting her backward momentum. Glaring at him coldly, her lips pressed into a tight, determined line. Anfet finally had a second to size her up. Church folk? That's right, the Inquisitor answered. I came here to execute you. Anfet couldn't make heads or tails of what was happening. Thoughts raced through his mind. A priest executing me? Why? Meanwhile, he responded with a deadpan expression, the church I know used to be a gathering place for good people spreading God's mercy. Have you guys degraded into a bunch of thugs using violence on anyone now? The Inquisitor barked angrily, how dare a vile demon preach to me about violence? An item on her robes suddenly flared with a surge of raw magic. She repeated furiously, how dare a vile demon? As for Anfet, he genuinely wondered, am I a demon? Judging by how she talks, she's definitely a priest class. No quest popped up, so this isn't a scripted event or part of the main story. So why is she mistaking me for a demon? I don't even have any cursed equipment in my inventory. So why on earth is she mistaking me for a demon? Suddenly, a thought flashed across Anfet's mind. Ah, right. Wait a minute. Anfet quickly raised his sword. Isn't this a golden opportunity? She wears that gauntlet out of sheer hatred for her demon-corrupted arm. She hates demons, yet she doubts whether someone corrupted by one can still be considered human. He rapidly came to a conclusion, this is the perfect chance to farm some character concept points. Putting on an enraged front, Anfet shouted, don't call me a demon, you fanatic. Victory belongs to my blade, and glory belongs to the heavens. The Inquisitor spat back in fury, a corrupted traitor dares pretend to be a knight? Know your place, accept death, and face your judgment. She charged him again to strike. She's right about me pretending to be a knight, Anthet agreed silently. I was never officially knighted anyway. He peered coldly at his opponent over the edge of his blade. And with that, Anthet suddenly vanished from the spot. Did you really think I'd fight you fair and square? He scoffed internally. The Inquisitor gritted her teeth in frustration. Coward! How dare you hide in the shadows? System prompt, Limit Breaker, imbues the weapon with magic and delivers a devastating downward plunge with demonic affinity, hitting a wide area ahead. Anthet suddenly reappeared and shouted, Barrier Breaker. The Inquisitor hastily raised her white shield to block the blow. Anthet had launched his attack by unleashing a wave of pure magical force straight at her. She scrambled to cover herself. Anthet taunted, keep cowering behind that shield. You look like a turtle hiding in its shell. The Inquisitor retorted frostily, I will offer your head to appease the suffering souls. Her weapon suddenly glowed with light. Anthet blinked, slightly puzzled. Wait, what kind of effect is that? A buff or an incoming attack? Raising her glowing weapon toward the sky, the Inquisitor declared, God is always with me. Outwardly, Anthet stood stock still with a stone-faced expression, but inwardly, he was dying to shield his eyes. Gah! What is with this blinding flash? Anthet finally realized what that attack was. It's a skill that boosts both attack and defense. Doesn't she have an insanely broken skill? That's a full-body buff. Man, I wish I had that. I'm so jealous. Honestly, isn't that a bit too overpowered? In the base game, it only applied to weapons. Since there's an elemental counter, I guess the 1.3x damage multiplier is still intact. The Inquisitor pressed her assault, tucking her weapon behind her shield and charging forward aggressively. Anthet quickly scrambled to parry. She's not attacking directly, just radiating an aura of light. Wait, is she trying to cast a cleansing spell? Priest types are way too slow to land a clean hit anyway. I don't know the level gap between us, but I'm definitely faster. He instantly launched a counterattack, but every single hit bounced off her shield. Anthet groaned internally, ugh, totally useless. That shield of hers has a flat 100% block rate. He knitted his brows, visibly annoyed by this troublesome opponent. Anthet lunged forward again, switching up his strategy. Breaking through that shield is impossible then. The Inquisitor yelled, if you have nothing to hide before God, step up and face me, traitor. Anthet narrowed his eyes at her and smirked at her words. I'll grant your wish, he thought. Anthet charged forward and swung his blade straight at her. The Inquisitor raised her shield to block. She gritted her teeth, bracing her shield against the heavy impact of his attack. Anthet seized the moment, vaulting off her shield to vault past her. System prompt, priest types carry extremely heavy armor and gear, which makes their movements slow. The Inquisitor gasped as Anthet suddenly appeared above her head. You. Anthet swooped down, it's over, fanatic. He delivered a brutal blow toward her, forcing her to block with everything she had. She gritted her teeth in fury, suffocating under the overwhelming pressure from someone like him. On the flip side, Anthet thought, magic knights are. Anthet instantly disengaged and repositioned behind her, preparing to strike from her blind spot. Top tier when it comes to attack speed, he noted proudly. He yelled aloud, pay for running your big mouth. Suddenly, a new voice cut in, oh flames, consume my enemy. A torrent of fire blasted into the space between them. Anthet gasped inwardly, a mage-type skill? Right here? Oliver spoke up, goodness, I didn't expect a Grand Inquisitor to struggle like this. I'm a bit late, but I'll back you up now. The Inquisitor's eyes lit up, you're here, Grand Mage. Anthet was utterly bewildered. Grand Inquisitor? Grand Mage? Then it hit him. The third-tier class advancement for priests is Grand Inquisitor. For mages, it's Grand Mage. Are they talking about two top-tier third advancement classes? So my enemies are a combo of two max-tier advanced classes, a healer tank and a long-range DPS dealer, while I'm just a low-level newbie who literally just finished the tutorial quest? Anthet felt this was wildly unfair, anxiety creeping in fast. Are you serious right now? Are you really trying to screw over a newbie like this? This isn't just throwing an egg at a rock, it's slamming my face into a Msirak. Is there even a way to clear this stage? Telling me to just suck it up and die without a skip pain toggle? Are you kidding me? Dread settled in his stomach. Pain isn't the problem, but what about the death penalty? Suddenly, a random thought struck Anthet. Ha? Wait a second, willpower? He paused. Are they telling me to die on purpose? Right, dying is also part of the game system. If dying is built into the tutorial, maybe that's how QoL features unlock. It clicked for Anfet. Making a realistic game like this, they probably want players to experience everything, no matter how frustrating. Very funny, devs. Now I can pass away in peace. He closed his eyes briefly, coming to terms with his situation. I'm dying anyway, so what is there to fear? In that case, I'll just do whatever I want. Talk trash, then die looking cool. Anfet spoke up, Grand Mage, that wise man title really is a thing of the past, isn't it? Running around with a reckless brat and bullying passers-by. The Inquisitor snapped, you're the fake here, acting innocent when you've sold your soul to a demon. The Grand Mage is merely doing her duty. Suddenly, the system popped up, hostile target within a 10 m radius. Anfet glanced behind him warily. More reinforcements? No, this presence is. He spotted a gigantic snake slithering toward them. Oliver blinked, a Medusa? Anfet wanted to scream, hey, that was my line. The Inquisitor barked, feigning innocence to shift the blame while summoning your allies? You treacherous apostle, Anfet replied deadpan, allies? Looks like that holy light of yours has completely blinded you. He turned calmly to face the giant serpent. I'm going to chop that demon into 100 pieces, then rip your stupid mouth open. System prompt, Medusa, a demonic entity composed of hundreds of snakes swarming around a single red snake core. It disperses when threatened. The serpent opened its massive maw and lunged toward Anfet like a missile. Anfet breathed a quiet sigh of relief internally. A demon spawning right now? So at IS a story event, he thought, yeah, the devs aren't crazy enough to spawn kill a player right off the bat. I trusted you guys. He smirked, right on time, pests. Anfet roared with excitement, I'll bring death upon you all. The Inquisitor shouted furiously, playing dumb again? Trying to team up with it? Oliver quickly stopped her, wait a moment. Oliver's face turned serious. She said slowly, look at him. Anfet had just dodged a strike from the beast. As the description window noted, the core of a Medusa was the red snake. In the original game, players had to keep attacking until the swarm dispersed to find the red snake. But that's way too annoying, isn't it? With how impatient Korean players are, who has the time to wait for that? He smirked, swung his sword, and charged straight at the monster. If they made it this realistic, the core's location is blindingly obvious. Anfet dashed forward and slashed straight into the middle of the monster's body. Monster blood sprayed everywhere as smaller snakes were blown backward. Anfet kept his eyes glued on his target. Right where the snake's heart should be, a bright red snake emerged right in the middle of the differently colored swarm. Anfet realized his prediction was spot on. He tossed his sword behind him. Trying to use a sword here will just result in a miss. Anfet plunged his bare hand straight into the cluster of black snakes. He rapidly yanked out the glowing red snake. Anfet crushed it instantly, causing the creature to collapse. He smiled inwardly. Nice play. The red snake is down. Now, he slowly turned his head so his attackers could witness it all. Time to lean hard into the edgy demon hunter roleplay. Anfet dropped the red snake onto the ground beneath his feet. Gathering his strength, he stomped hard on the snake. He looked down and confirmed that the snake was completely lifeless. He lifted his foot off the crushed snake, leaving bloody red footprints on the ground. The Inquisitor glared at him with utter disgust and contempt. Anfet slowly raised his blade. You damn fanatics actually know when to hold back, huh? I'll give you credit for not blindly barging in and ruining my fight. Now, should I rip that mouth of yours open as a reward? Oliver interjected hurriedly, wait, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I apologize for attacking you, but could you please hear us out? The Inquisitor was taken aback. What are you talking about? Grand Mage, do you know why he's a traitor? Why are the demons fighting each other? Oliver answered, no. He isn't someone who made a pact with a demon. The Inquisitor looked incredulous, but he clearly used demonic power. How can you say he's not? How is that even possible? I was never taught anything like this. Please explain, Oliver replied, it's natural you don't know. An existence like this has only ever been mentioned as a theory at the Academy. Anfet felt a wave of satisfaction. She's talking about me. Third-person lore exposition is great, I gotta let her cook. Oliver continued, normally, a host possessed by a demonic parasite loses consciousness and becomes a zombie. On the other hand, that young man seems to have suppressed the demon, taking control of its power all on his own. The Inquisitor stammered in disbelief, "That's impossible. No human could ever do that through sheer willpower without the power of God." Oliver said, "Nothing in this world is impossible. There are only things assumed to be impossible." "If that weren't the case, then what else should we call the young man standing before us?" Anfet spoke up frostily, "How long are you two going to babble right in front of my face?" He put on an outraged front. "Zombie? How dare you trash talk me like I'm garbage?" In reality, he was thrilled. "Since the main NPCs are letting me perform, I gotta go all out. Here's my chance to show off." Oliver bowed her head apologetically, "It was entirely our mistake. If there's anything you want, I will do my best to compensate you. At most, you'll just hand over a few copper coins and some starter armor," Anfet thought. He gritted his teeth and replied, "Damn it. Compensate if possible, huh? What if I tell you two to go kill yourselves, would you do it?" Oliver hesitated. "Well, that's..." Anfet cut her off, "If you can't do it, then shove your cheap apologies. If it were up to me, I'd rip your jaws off and hang them at the village entrance. But if I did that, how would I be any different from those demons?" He smoothly sheathed his sword back in place. "Get lost." Contrary to his stoic exterior, Anfet was actually buzzing with excitement. "This is awesome. It feels just like role-playing with my college buddies. Man, who wrote these slick lines? You know what? An edgy, powerful character only looks cool when the opponents give a dramatic reaction. Thanks for the carry, guys." Suddenly, he abruptly stopped in his tracks. Anfet blinked. "Oh right, I almost forgot to grab the corpse." He quickly picked up the blood-stained red snake. The Inquisitor called out, "Wait, now what?" Anfet grumbled internally. "Are you really complaining about me taking the loot?" He turned around, meeting the Inquisitor's emerald eyes. Anfet sighed inwardly. Classic NPC behavior. "Newbies need this item to clear the quest, you know," the Inquisitor said firmly. "Listen closely to what I'm about to say." Anfet instantly put his guard up. "A new quest?" Standing resolute in front of him, the Inquisitor said, "I apologize as well." Seeing him look blankly at her, she flushed with embarrassment. "Even if I explain myself now, it'll just sound like an excuse. I sincerely apologize for attacking you first." Anfet found this pretty confusing. Don't high and mighty elite lady NPCs usually cling to their pride? I thought she'd arrogantly lecture me, asking if I have no shame making money off demon corpses, calling me an unholy monster without a shred of justice. Anfet's silence only made the situation more awkward. "I know repeating it won't fix anything, but I am truly sorry," she added. Only now did he realize she was apologizing so genuinely that it actually made him feel a bit awkward, even though he knew she was just an AI character. "Alright, fine, it was a confusing situation," the Inquisitor added, and I'm not just giving you lip service. If you want a reward, I will pay as much as I can." Her firm stance took Anfet off guard. Her mindset is impressive. Is this a companion recruitment event? He looked around with slight annoyance. Teammates? In the middle of nowhere? I don't need any, and it completely ruins my character's lonely wolf vibe. With that in mind, Anfet turned on his heel and walked away. Gotta stay in character. I don't need your hypocrisy. Those words filled the Inquisitor with guilt. It's not hypocrisy. Listen to me. Right then, a voice called out, "Inquisitor, calm down." She paused, looking at the Grand Mage. Oliver calmly reminded her, "More importantly, we need to get moving too. We wasted time because we couldn't catch the demon ourselves, but now that the purification is done, we have to report back immediately." Hearing this, the Inquisitor nodded softly, "You're right." She then urged herself, "It's late, let's hurry." Oliver and the Inquisitor began following right behind Anfet. Footsteps echoed through the quiet forest, but something was off. The two behind him matched his pace without showing any sign of stopping. Feeling something was wrong, a thought crossed his mind. What's this? The tension is getting suffocatingly awkward. Are they following me? Anfet looked up at his system UI. I opened the map and walked in a straight line back to the village. But wait, can they see my map too? Behind him, Oliver struck up a conversation. You've worked hard all week, you must be disappointed you didn't get to kill it yourself. The Inquisitor shook her head cheerfully, without a trace of gloom. Not at all, purification is my duty as a servant of God. They were completely ignoring Anfet now. What? What now? If you're done, go your own way. What else do you want from me? This is so uncomfortable. He couldn't hide his annoyance. Is there more story content? Should I test the waters? Acting on impulse, Anfet adopted an arrogant tone. I thought I told you to get lost. Scowling at them, he added, do my words mean nothing to you? Faced with his outburst, Oliver remained shockingly calm. My apologies if we offended you, it wasn't intentional. We're just following our navigational magic, and it seems our destinations happen to overlap. Anfet felt a sudden wave of embarrassment. Ah, so that's it. They aren't following me, they're following their own GPS. Wait, so they have their own map windows too? Mortified, he lengthened his stride. This is so cringe. I need to get away from them. Seeing him speed up, the Inquisitor called out, wait. Where are you going? The night forest is dangerous. Anfet shut her down in a cold voice. It's only dangerous for weaklings like you. Don't apply your standards to me. Inwardly, he pleaded, just leave me alone and let me roleplay in peace. The Inquisitor muttered worriedly under her breath, wandering alone in the night forest isn't a good idea. As Anfet's back faded into the distance, she turned to Oliver. Is it really okay to let him go like that? Grand Mage, he's already strong. If he succumbs to demonic possession, it'll be a total disaster. Oliver stroked her chin thoughtfully. I've never encountered a situation like this either. Personally, I hope he doesn't get taken over, but the Inquisitor readjusted her grip on her shield and weapon. Wishes and reality are often miles apart. I know, Oliver quietly revealed. I placed a tracking charm on him earlier. Since our destinations seem to be the same, let's just keep observing him. The Inquisitor reluctantly accepted the advice. May God protect him. In the quiet of the full moon night, a flock of crows suddenly flapped their wings and flew off. After what felt like an eternity, the town lights finally appeared before his eyes. Anfet headed straight for the door of a guild office. The moment he walked inside, he ran into Isrin. Sorry, it's late, so you'll have to wait a bit for a new quest. Before she could even finish her sentence, her face turned pale when she saw Anfet's state. His face was shrouded in shadow, radiating bloodlust and a thick stench of blood. Ah, magic knights. Anfet tossed a cloth bag to Isrin and demanded, confirm it. Flustered, she stumbled over her words. Why are you back so soon? Wait. Yes, I'll do it right away. Isrin glanced at him, then peered inside the cloth bag. What's this? Why is there a snake corpse in here? She froze in sheer shock once again. Good grief, don't tell me. Did you go all the way to the northwest forest and slay the demon in just 2 days? Deep down, Anfet wanted to burst into tears and whine, but his forced poker face wouldn't allow it. Ira, do you have any idea what I suffered through? He recalled the previous night, how he had coolly turned his back on those NPC party members and started walking, but very quickly, he was slapped with a brutal reality check. It takes 8 full hours by carriage to get there. At the time, Anfet found it completely absurd. No way, this is still a game. Are they really making me walk that entire distance on foot? Games are supposed to be fun. Come on, no way. And he had obviously started walking at dawn, right? And was still walking through the forest at noon, right? And even as dusk settled in, he kept reassuring himself, right? At times, Anfet had to look up at the sky and curse, it is real. What kind of insane walking simulator is this? I'd been trekking on foot for an entire day. I was planning to camp on the road, but this forest ecosystem is way too diverse. Making a game this realistic is frustratingly crazy. It's an insanely detailed garbage game. It wasn't until the system prompt notified him that he had reached the Tatara trading post that he gasped internally. When that window popped up, I almost cried on the spot. Of course, Isrin had no clue about any of this. Let me verify this first. The demon in the northwest forest is a Medusa. Got it. We'll monitor the forest for a bit longer just in case, but judging by this, it's definitely confirmed. As soon as morning comes, we'll verify the details, complete the quest, and issue your reward. The system display flashed with the quest completion notice. Anfet's spirit wavered, but he still tried to act cool. Man, I'm so dizzy. Am I getting old or something? I used to never be this sluggish just from pulling an all-nighter gaming. Isrin suddenly remembered, since you look exhausted, let me recommend an inn for you. Internally, he was thrilled out of his mind. Thanks, Isrin. This damn game, if I hadn't bought the full dive infusion yesterday, I probably would have smashed my rig and quit already. Right then, a young boy popped his head out and ran over. Sure thing. Did he come back already? Didn't he just leave the day before yesterday? Taking the cloth bag, she instructed him, he must be exhausted from pushing himself to complete the quest. Please lead him to the Win-In. The boy quickly led the way for Anfet, leave it to me. Please follow me, sir. He rather liked the boy's cheerful demeanor, the kid always looked visibly brighter whenever they met. At least there was someone like that in this game. The moment they stepped out the door, the boy asked about the adventure. What kind of demon did you hunt this time? Was it super strong? Anfet uttered in a cold voice, demons aren't a topic for idle chit-chat. The boy realized he had crossed a line. I'm sorry. Seeing his expression, Anfet understood a bit. Ah, he's intimidated. I stayed in character even though I knew this would happen, but, sorry, kid. Sorry for being a terrible adult. I should give him a generous tip as soon as we arrive. I made a boatload of cash today. Upon reaching the Win-In, Anfet was finally able to lie down on the bed. Should I get some rest? Is this really a game? It feels more like grueling physical labor. Just because the fatigue gauge on the UI hit max doesn't mean the real player should be this dead tired, though. Current fatigue rate, 100%. The system panel opened a countdown timer, sleep for 6 hours. Anfet mumbled groggily, let me catch some sleep first, then I'll decide whether to smash my rig or not. With that, he clicked the start button on the screen directly. Night slowly deepened, and the starlight in the sky burned brilliantly. Over quiet rooms where nothing was happening, the door to the in-room remained tightly shut, without a sound. Right then, a shadow appeared, prowling down the hallway. A moment later, the door to Anfet's room cracked open just a sliver. The figure tightened his grip on the handle of the mace in his hand. The intruder aimed directly at Anfet's head and swung down. A quick thought crossed Anfet's mind, I need to wake up. Right on cue, the system warned, hostile target detected within 10 meters. His hand instantly reached for his sword. As the mace brought its weight down, Anfet managed to block it just in time. Philip gritted his teeth and hissed through his breath, damn it. Tensing up, Anfet thought to himself, seriously? I'm the one who should be saying that. You crazy bastard, what kind of detection skill is this anyway? It says within 10 meters, but it didn't warn me until he was practically shoving it in my face. Philip was quickly shoved backward by Anfet. How on earth is he so strong? Immediately after, Anfet shifted back into a flawless sword stance. Anfet coldly delivered a razor-sharp slash toward his chest. Philip immediately regretted his life choices. Mercy. Please spare me. I just wanted the coin pouch. Anfet's face darkened, his voice dropping an octave. Drop the weapon and put your hands behind your head. He felt like he was drifting off script. Damn it, seriously. I'm playing a dark fantasy character, but here I am spouting lines like a cop. Upon hearing this, the mace slipped right out of Philip's hand and hit the floor. Raising his trembling hands, he pleaded, I dropped it. Please spare my life. Anfet scoffed under his breath, guess hitting someone over the head makes money pop out these days, huh? He flinched as Philip pulled out a hidden dagger. Of course, it's always like this. Anfet used an evasion skill to dodge the guy's clumsy attack pattern. With a smooth motion, he struck the back of Philip's neck, knocking him out cold. Staring at the bump on the guy's head, Anfet delivered a blunt verdict, did you really think you could kill me with that toy knife? Ridiculous. He scoffed internally, even if I'm just an average player, getting mugged while I'm this exhausted is so absurd it's almost funny. I thought a whole bandit gang had arrived, but it turned out to be just a lone thief picking the lock and walking right in? What kind of event is this supposed to be? Anfet dragged the suspect straight out toward the lobby area. Isrin gasped in shock at the sight. Goodness gracious. Even if he doesn't mean harm, the bloodlust coming off him is suffocating. Sorry for losing my temper, but could you please just let me sleep a bit? Before Anfet could even finish his sentence, her face went pale and she shrieked. She couldn't help but stammer, disposing of evidence? Anfet, stop wrapping your sword on Philip's head. Are your eyes just for decoration? When did he die? Right at that moment, the system issued a new prompt, hostile target detected within 10 meters. Glancing over his shoulder, he saw the Inquisitor storming right inside. Did you seriously commit a murder in that short span of time? Without asking a single question, she immediately pinned the crime on Anfet. I knew it. A zombie that retains its consciousness could only be. As she spoke, the Inquisitor lunged forward, thrusting her weapon straight at him. Anfet quickly took a step back, dodging her strike. His expression soured. This annoying NPC is at it again. Why does she always pop up in the most misunderstandable situations? Isn't this plot point a bit too contrived? But right now, the Inquisitor was glaring daggers at Anfet. Her intent to kill flared up, making the atmosphere tenser than ever. Although it was a hassle, he didn't really mind. More importantly, when this nun showed up, it was actually kind of fun because it triggered his deep roleplay mode. Anfet delivered one final threat: "I definitely told you I'd kill you if you kept following me." According to the backstory I made up for my demon knight, he has specific triggers that make him lose control. You spawn of a demon. Mindless husk in the name of God. And this nun insists on smashing those exact buttons every time we meet. In the name of God, you spawn of a demon. You filthy zombie garbage. The Inquisitor growled, trying to overpower Anfet. Silence, you filthy demon who stole a human body. He smirked and let out a soft sigh, as if on cue. Anfet then widened his stance, dropping into a full offensive posture. Opposite him, a cold glint flashed in her eyes as her gaze swept over him. Anfet exhaled a quiet breath. You're hastening your own death. Magic flared from his hand and coated the blade. If you don't want to get dragged into something pointless, back off. His indifferent eyes narrowed slightly, falling onto her person. Anfet intended to end it swift and clean with a quick sword execution. Unexpectedly, someone intervened to stop him. Ice chains wrapped around him, locking his actions in place. A bind spell? Anfet instantly recognized the crowd control skill characteristic of the mage class. If that's the case, Oliver burst in from outside, panicked. Wait, please stop. Seeing her, Anfet thought to himself, I was wondering where you went off to. This spell from the mage girl breaks automatically if you just wait a bit. But I should resist to stay true to my character, right? Since life handed him the script, he didn't hesitate to act it out. Shut up. The Inquisitor questioned Oliver with a bewildered look. Grand Mage, what's wrong? Why are you telling us to stop? Before she could even finish her sentence, she noticed Anfet's sword overflowing with magic. With a powerful flex of his arms, he shattered all the chains simultaneously. The blade slashed horizontally, stopping just a few centimeters short of the Inquisitor's neck. The sheer destructive force of the blow tore right into the ceiling. Isrin had ducked under the counter at some point, her face completely drained of color. Oliver stood jaw-dropped, unable to believe what had just unfolded before her eyes. After that explosive display of power, Anfet's blade was still enveloped in a thick, dark purple magic. The atmosphere in the inn lobby turned 10 times tenser than before. The Inquisitor spoke up softly, asking, he broke the Grand Mage's bind skill that easily? How? Anfet kept his lips pressed tight, his expression darkening even further, but internally, he was feeling pretty smug. Mind-blowing, right? Crazy stuff. There were dozens of comments from players wanting to nerf mages. That bind skill was definitely way too broken in the original game, to the point people constantly demanded a nerf. Oliver let out a thoroughly embarrassed cough. First, both of you calm down. It seems there's been another misunderstanding. The Inquisitor, however, didn't think she was in the wrong. What are you talking about? I saw him handle someone with my own eyes. Please explain. Oliver was starting to get annoyed herself. Inquisitor, has your wrath against evil completely blinded you? Look closely around you, check for yourself whether that young man actually killed anyone. After looking around, she finally realized that Philip was still breathing. A monster. The Inquisitor's eyes widened like a toddler's. He's really not dead? Dumbfounded, she turned to Anfet for confirmation. He's actually still alive. Outwardly, Anfet scowled, but inside, he was 10 times happier. Just as expected, I wanted to kill him, but I didn't. A moment later, Oliver offered a suggestion. Could you explain the situation if you don't mind? I know it's shameless to ask for an explanation after shooting first and asking questions later, but the other guests have gathered here as well. Instead of causing unnecessary misunderstandings, please give us a chance to ease their anxiety. Without her pointing it out, Anfet wouldn't have even noticed when everyone had gathered like this. Turning around, he barked an order at Philip, confess it yourself. Anfet felt a strange urge he couldn't quite voice. And stop showing off your butt, old man. The guy turned his head back, trembling. Please spare me. Anfet's eyes flashed with a cold light, as if he could finish Philip off at any second. Do I have to repeat myself? Pale as a ghost, he screamed in utter desperation. No. I was after his money. It's all my fault. He was so generous with the errand boy. I thought he was super rich, so with just that confession, Anfet felt a whole lot better. The misunderstanding was completely cleared up. Man, I'm dead tired. Without waiting for anyone else to speak, he turned and left. You'd better pay more attention to security from now on. I'm leaving. Isran stammered, trying to hold him back. What? Wait. Adventurer. Paying her no mind, he walked straight out the door. Having already put all the gear I wasn't wearing into my inventory means I don't even need to pack up, it's great. Behind Anfet came the sound of hurried, rushed footsteps. After taking a few steps, he froze, a thought crossing his mind. Wait a minute, why did that nun and mage look so familiar? Last time it was too dark and chaotic for me to get a good look at them. But as he met them again, Anfet's chain of thought was cut short by the Inquisitor. Wait, hey! At her words, his feet came to a halt, his eyes casting a wary glance behind him. The Inquisitor seemed to have sprinted after him, her breathing completely out of sync. Anfet's pupils narrowed as he stared at her state with utter confusion. Outside the doors of the Tatara trading post, the Inquisitor stopped, panting heavily. He turned his head to get a clearer look. Staring closely at this face, this nun, she had rosy cheeks and that hairstyle people usually call a death flag. And to top it off, the Inquisitor had those sparkling emerald green eyes. From these features, Anfet was able to recognize that wasn't she the official character for the nun class in Legend of Heroes? Right after, Oliver opened the door and ran over just in time. Inquisitor, rushing out recklessly like that is dangerous. She patiently reminded her line by line, if you want to talk, you need to calm down first, consider what to say, and think about how they'll react. His eyes shifted over to Oliver. Looking closely, the Grand Mage was the same. She had a tall, muscular build, characteristic of the White Lions from the Shejai race, a beastfolk race in the game. That was indeed the official appearance of the Mage class character. Anfet couldn't hide his searching glare. In the base game, I don't remember other class characters appearing besides the player, since each character's storyline was completely different. A thought suddenly crossed his mind. Seeing how they keep tailing me, is forming a party with NPCs mandatory or something? At this point, Anfet clicked his tongue internally. I don't want to. If I wanted to join a party, I wouldn't have chosen to roleplay like this. With a high-freedom game like this, it can't be mandatory, right? Or should I test the waters to see how they perform? With that, he put on a look of sheer disgust. Don't you know what shut up means? Or do the words of a demon's spawn simply not register in the ears of a noble, high and mighty nun? She was rendered momentarily speechless. No. I mean, I'm sorry. For whatever reason, the Inquisitor suddenly squeezed her eyes shut. To his complete surprise, she dropped straight to her knees in front of Anfet. The insult I dealt to you cannot be redeemed with mere words. The Inquisitor even beat her chest, declaring, if an apology isn't enough, take my head. Facing her over the top, resolute action, Anfet froze as the air between them fell dead silent, neither of them uttering another word. Anfet was utterly flabbergasted internally. Is she insane? He couldn't believe those words had come from an arrogant nun. Excuse me, I like playing solo, I'm not some bloodthirsty murderer machine, alright? Why is her mindset so extreme? Anfet then turned toward Oliver, who raised her with this kind of mindset. The temple? Or was it you, Grand Mage? But then he slumped in utter helplessness. Even the Grand Mage was wearing a we are so screwed face. What do I do now? Anfet felt deeply traumatized inside. Even so, I have to stop her. If I refuse right here, it'll completely break my OC's character persona. Right at that moment, Oliver looked up and met Anfet's searching gaze. She was momentarily startled out of her wits, her face turning pale. From the Grand Mage's perspective, Anfet exuded an aura dripping with pure bloodlust. Oliver couldn't help but plead, please have mercy. The Inquisitor only recently left the temple. She still knows far too little about the outside world. It's mostly my fault for not stopping her in time. So please, punish this old woman instead of her. The Inquisitor, remaining righteous to a fault, cried out, Grand Mage, please don't. It was my mistake. Oliver ignored her, frantically trying to explain to him, I know I have no right to say this, but please. She still wants to take responsibility herself. I didn't, though inexperienced, this responsibility belongs to me alone. The situation was growing more and more stuck in a deadlock. No choice then, I have to handle this myself. Anfet reached for his side pocket. Even if she's an NPC, this feeling is seriously uncomfortable. But what can you do? Honestly, this situation is kind of funny, so I'll just go with the flow. He quickly drew his sword. I gave you a chance. Tossing the scabbard onto the ground, Anfet's voice grew even deeper, and yet you chose punishment. At this point, the Inquisitor could only purse her lips. bowing her head slightly to accept her sentence. Anfet reached out and grabbed a handful of her hair. He directly used the sharp edge of the blade to make a clean, simple cut. Even Oliver held her breath, waiting for the final outcome. The Inquisitor's hands gripped her weapon so tightly they were trembling violently. She waited and waited, but nothing happened, so she cautiously peeked one eye open. Anfet seemed to have finished the job, having already sheathed his blade at some point. The Inquisitor looked down at the ground and realized one of her braids had been sliced off. She looked at her current appearance in utter panic. Gritting her teeth, the Inquisitor looked up at Anfet as if demanding an answer. She couldn't help but stammer out, "Why?" The corners of his lips curled into a smirk. "What do you mean why? This genius roleplay addict just saved your lives without breaking character, you know?" Anfet rubbed his chin, recalling something. Come to think of it, that lady in the intro section was around her age and used a dagger too. Oliver, meanwhile, was quite worried about the Inquisitor's hair. Good heavens, she was utterly appalled by his actions. Did he really just leave, just like that? Before leaving, Anfet tossed back a single line, "Take a good look at your hair, and from now on, watch your mouth." He clicked his tongue approvingly inside. "I just chopped off that death-like hairstyle for you, so you'd better start valuing your life." Nevertheless, Anfet kept a cold front on the outside, because next time, the thing hitting the floor will be your head. Hearing that, the Inquisitor wanted to say something more to him. However, Oliver held her back, while Anfet walked away feeling quite proud of himself. "Don't you get it? I removed that death flag hairstyle for you. Now you better live a long life. Even if I leave them behind, these high-tier NPCs are just going to tail me on their own anyway, right?" He walked off looking cool while secretly celebrating inside, eager to see what event they'd trigger next. At the same time, the Inquisitor regained her composure with the Grand Mage's help. Her voice was still quite shaky. "You said he wasn't, that his body was possessed by a demon." She affirmed quickly, "That's right." The Inquisitor stood up and drew her conclusion. Then he must have suffered immensely because of that demon. The sheer hatred he had to endure to attain such overwhelming power is unimaginable. And yet, he simply walked away. Even though he possessed more than enough power to act on that hatred, Oliver was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. "That is mercy, Inquisitor." She couldn't stop staring at Anfet's fading figure. With that kind of resolve, he has probably overcome even the demon dwelling within his body. I wonder, is that the strength of his heart? With that, the Inquisitor knelt down to pick up the lock of hair from the ground. "I still have so much to learn." Oliver offered a warm smile and advice. "It can't be helped. You haven't been out in the real world for very long, so from now on." Unexpectedly, before she could finish her sentence, she was cut off. "And I've realized one thing. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, an indispensable companion for our journey." The Inquisitor's face now burned with an unprecedented, fiery passion. Oliver was momentarily stunned by her sudden burst of enthusiasm. For a brief second, her face wore a look of total, enlightened resignation. Gazing up at the moonlight illuminating the dark night, Oliver could only marvel inwardly. Good heavens. One thing's for sure, tonight is truly beautiful. There were still about 2 days left until the full dive session expired. Returning to the peaceful town, where he could ditch his fake name for convenience, hide his identity, and take on whatever job came his way. Using his familiar name, Ratchand, his real name from his past life. The next morning at another nearby inn, people were sitting inside, chatting merrily. Gratchand slammed his fork down hard into the piece of meat in front of him, his expression turning nastier by the second. Seeing him like this, the Inquisitor and Oliver looked a bit flustered. In reality, Gratchand's internal mindset was totally relaxed. "Why are you guys so late? Trying to let me rest because you thought I was tired? Talk about overthinking it." Outwardly, however, he maintained a stone-cold facade. He blurted out abruptly, "Is my other eye blind, or are your ears just deaf?" Gratchand thought to himself, "Should I flip the table or just smash the place up? Nah, the food is innocent. I still have the soul of a Korean after all." Oliver rushed forward to explain, "Wait, at least hear us out first. I swear you won't regret listening." But his stance remained firm. "No, there's nothing to hear." He turned his face away coldly. "Just looking at you guys gives me bad vibes." The moment he finished speaking, the Inquisitor stammered out, "Me." She cried out helplessly, "I came here in all sincerity because I wanted to learn from your open-mindedness." After saying those words, her face instantly flushed bright red. Gratchand's attitude remained as cold and unbothered as ever. He questioned himself internally, "Did I go too far with the act? Because I rejected the old script too hard, I completely broke her character." The Inquisitor bowed her head in apology. "Be tolerant and understanding of others, while casting aside arrogance and stubbornness. I was taught that my whole life, yet I failed to live by it." Her palms clenched tightly. "But you're different. Time and time again, you forgave my insults. That couldn't have been easy for you. Her attitude had done a complete 180-degree turn. I've seen the path I must walk thanks to you. The Inquisitor explained flusteredly. I know I've been extremely rude up until now. Even so, I noticed Gretchen didn't react at all, which made her fall even deeper into despair. We're done for. He only let out a bone-chilling smile. He had no idea how to handle this, so he just gave up and surrendered completely. Ever since my otaku days, I've always had a soft spot for characters like this. Thinking back, even when I played Legend of Heroes, Priest was always my favorite class. Gretchen stepped forward and patted the Inquisitor's head. Is that so? It's fine. It happens all the time. Man, she's so adorable. But all of that was just in his head. He reminded himself to hold it together and stay in character. Right then, the Inquisitor looked at him with anxious eyes. She quickly lowered her head. Did I say something wrong? Was I impolite again? Yet the truth hit Gretchen straight in the chest like a dagger. On the outside, he kept his face as cold as ice. After thinking for a moment, he spoke up. If your goal was to annoy me, I'll admit, you've done quite an entertaining job of it. Gretchen reached for the sword on his back. It's refreshing to see someone try to sign out of life in such a bizarre way. Oliver quickly stepped forward. That's not it at all. Please listen to me first. He still seemed entirely unbothered. There is nothing to hear. The only thing I have for her is this blade. She hastily interrupted. Satan. She swallowed her pride as much as she could. If we told you that you could destroy Satan, the demon lord, would you still draw your sword? Hearing those words, Gretchen's expression shifted instantly. He slowly lowered his sword. Yet his expression remained terrifyingly stern. What do you mean by that? Oliver and the Inquisitor immediately straightened up with dignity. Both turned to look at each other, sharing the exact same thought. They understood clearly that the solitary gaze fixed on them radiated an unprecedented level of murderous intent. He clearly hated demons more than anyone they had ever met. The Inquisitor looked at her own reflection in his blade. Now that Satan's name had been uttered, if they dared to hide even a shred of the truth, this blind man's ruthless blade would tear them to shreds. She clenched her fists tight. Yet, the fake executioner didn't hesitate for a moment, her eyes turning resolute. Because my life is dedicated to the greater cause. The Inquisitor knew full well that if she deceived him now, death would be a fitting punishment. But Gretchen was secretly thinking to himself, damn, that's sick, the Satan plotline is already here. He felt insanely hyped. Today's episode is absolute peak. The story told that Inquisitors originally meant those who investigated or judged matters of faith. However, in the game, the Inquisitor was the priest's third advancement. According to the world's lore, they were the representatives executing the church's will in society. Oliver recounted what she knew. Despite being quite young for an Inquisitor, she has her reasons for leaving the church. Gretchen listened to her in silence. It's all because of a revelation. The Inquisitor helplessly placed a hand on her chest. Although I am unworthy, the Lord sent a message that my mission is to destroy Satan. She raised her head to look at Gretchen. However, the Lord also said I couldn't do it alone and must seek companions. She continued explaining, that's why I went to the Archmage first, and we set off to find others. Oliver let out a soft sigh. We came back for you, even knowing it would annoy you, for that exact reason. The Inquisitor turned to look at her. Archmage, didn't you say everything would be fine? Oliver hurriedly looked away and coughed a few times. Gretchen's expression grew even worse. Turns out the girl was tricked into coming along. She looks so cute, like a little steamed bun, it's impossible not to laugh. He startled himself and thought, wait, how can this be? Isn't the player supposed to be the one receiving the revelation? He grew even more infuriated. Don't tell me this remake's storyline revolves around these priests. Seeing Gretchen's attitude, Oliver quickly spoke up. So, hey, she asked with a hint of expectation, will you join us in destroying Satan? A notification suddenly popped up. First step, defeat the demon lord. He pondered in silence. Main quest. She continued her story. I did some digging, and you're a pretty famous mercenary. Word is you've never backed down when hunting demons. She looked at Gretchen curiously. If Satan is defeated, won't the demons in this land be forced to retreat? He suddenly found it hilarious. That kid, a hero? Oliver placed a hand on the Inquisitor's shoulder. If you need proof, we can go to the church with you. She didn't forget to add, every sanctuary will prove that she is the hero. Gretchen stayed silent and thought for a long time. What should I do now? Gretchen's voice suddenly dropped lower than before. He warned both of them. if you know what's good for you, don't you dare lie to me. He observed his companion, the Inquisitor, and his other companion, who happened to be an archmage. A system notification appeared. First step, defeat the Demon Lord, join the subjugation party. Talking to the archmage, Gretchen looked up toward Oliver. Once everything was negotiated, Gretchen left on the carriage. He looked at Isran and the boy in the back. I joined the subjugation party and immediately left the Tatara trading post. He thought to himself, there were a few events that happened, like the inn asking for another chance or someone offering a reward. Thinking up to this point, Gretchen suddenly felt exhausted, but to maintain his character image and focus on the main quest, I skipped them all. He kept feeling like something was off, yet Gretchen just wanted to avoid the Inquisitor's gaze. Why does this girl keep staring at me? This made him feel a bit awkward. Ever since I agreed to go with the subjugation party until now, the pressure has been insane. I was the only thing reflected in her eyes. Gretchen let out a soft sigh. I clearly said nothing but harsh, cruel things to her. He glanced outside. If there were an affinity system, I'd think it had hit rock bottom by now. A notification suddenly appeared before his eyes. You can bring designated NPCs along, track the location of companion NPCs, and issue commands to companion NPCs depending on affinity. NPC attitudes will change based on affinity, and this stat will remain hidden. Gretchen was quite surprised. And usually, my affinity would plummet like crazy because of my roleplay addiction. He announced coldly, don't even dream about it, I'll treat you as teammates. Gretchen suddenly remembered, those were lines I used to say all the time. He asked himself, or is the affinity set high by default because she's an early game NPC? The Inquisitor was in high spirits. She stared at him with a smile. This forced Gretchen to admit, she's as cute as a kimchi dumpling. He sank deep into his thoughts. Ever since she cut her hair into that cute style, she looks even more like a steamed bun, staring at me with her wide eyes. That mix of strength and fiery passion really looks adorable. His mood suddenly brightened. Feeling like a parent watching a child, he raised himself. After a period of silence, Oliver suddenly spoke up. She asked curiously, aren't you going to ask us anything? Like whether we actually received the revelation? Or where we're going now and why, things like that? Gretchen didn't know what to say. Simply because you're just game characters, and I won't know what the next map is until we get there. Yet he still acted cool. If that revelation is a lie, I'll send you both off right away. Other than that, where you go or what you do is none of my business. He warned both of them, if you're still in your right mind, you'd better know to give me a heads up on what's necessary. Even Oliver was surprised. You sound like you trust us completely. Her voice hesitated slightly, though it's probably just because you find these petty matters too tedious to bother with. After thinking for a bit, she still decided to tell him. The sanctuary sent a request to eliminate the demons, and we're heading there right now. The Inquisitor was about to add, our support for the sanctuary is completely independent from the subjugation party. As servants of God, helping those in distress is our duty. Gretchen abruptly interrupted her. I don't care about any of that. He asked both of them point blank. Which demon, and how many? She quickly reminded him, we only received news that demons appeared, so we need to go to the sanctuary to get the details first. Gretchen frowned with deep contempt, useless deadweights. A system notification appeared, demons lurking in the village, go to the sanctuary and talk to the bishop. He was quite surprised. Not a main quest, but Gretchen didn't care much. Whatever, as long as the story keeps moving forward. He silently calculated in his mind. There's about a day and a half left of actual in-game playtime, right? Even though he criticized how traveling by carriage like this was going to waste a ton of time for nothing. Feeling exhausted, Gretchen decided to take the opportunity to catch a quick nap. He glanced at the two sitting opposite him. When we arrive, they'll wake me up. Seeing him fall asleep, the Inquisitor appeared extremely excited. Late yesterday night, she was still sitting in the prayer room. Oliver suddenly knocked on the door. Inquisitor, may I come in? She nodded in agreement. Yes, Archmage. She slowly opened the door. I think we need to talk. Oliver stepped inside. You know full well what it means that he could have taken your life. Her gaze turned uneasy. Don't tell me you don't realize how heavy the mission bound to your life truly is. Saying this, Oliver didn't know how to explain if he hadn't shown mercy back then. The Inquisitor abruptly interrupted. You are completely right. Back then, I spoke far too rashly and recklessly. She turned around. Yet, Archmage, didn't I almost kill an innocent person by mistake as well? She blamed herself deeply. Justice is merely violence with a reason, so use it with caution and solemnity. Oliver sighed. Never be overly confident in your own justice. She continued to remind her, that is the ninth commandment. The Inquisitor's hands began to tremble. If I had accidentally killed him back then, how many more innocent people would my ignorance have harmed? She felt deep regret for her actions. Can someone who doesn't even fully understand the Lord's words truly be worthy of being a hero? She continued her story, yet through his tolerance, he gave me a chance to repent and awaken. When I said those words, I was ready to accept death. The Inquisitor looked straight into Oliver's eyes, but it was his tolerance that helped me move one step closer to my mission. She felt deeply moved. Doesn't that make him like a messenger preaching doctrines on behalf of the divine? Back to reality, the Inquisitor looked at the soundly sleeping Gratchen. She smiled warmly, praying for God to grant him a peaceful slumber. The carriage carrying the three traveled to a new land. The time was already late at night at an inn. Gratchen's mood at this moment was absolutely terrible. He sighed and cursed in his head, wasted 3 whole in-game days. What an insanely trash game. He felt deeply heartbroken. With travel taking this much time, they might as well ban full dive mode altogether. My full dive fluid burned through hundreds of thousands of gold in cold, hard cash. Gratchen angrily looked around. Since it's come to this, I need to rush through the storyline as fast as possible in the time remaining. A new quest popped up. First step, defeat the Demon Lord, go to the sanctuary and talk to the bishop. The Inquisitor smiled with excitement. It took longer than I thought. No more beating around the bush. Let's go to the sanctuary right away. Noticing he had already walked ahead made her startle. When did he leave? She hurriedly ran after him. Wait for me, Demon Slayer Knight. I'm coming too. Oliver could only slowly walk behind. This old body can't keep up with you. Realizing something was wrong caught her attention. She let out a soft sigh. I don't know why, but I feel so uneasy and anxious inside. In the sky, black crows flew in one direction as if signaling an ill omen. The scene shifted to a grand royal palace. A moment later, Gratchen had set foot in this place. Dozens of blades were threatening him, yet he remained completely calm. The sage's intuition had come true. A group of people looked at him with eyes full of hatred, shouting a warning, "There's a demon!" The Inquisitor hurriedly ran forward to stand in front of Gratchen. She raised her voice to explain, "Listen, he is not the enemy." The new knight realized with surprise that the birthmark on her hand was the hero's crest. She said in a resolute tone, "I swear in the name of the hero. He is merely a victim of demons, not their minion." Everyone around kept whispering. But there's clearly a demon's murderous aura. She's young, so she probably doesn't know better. Since she only received the revelation recently anyway, we should report this first. Oliver stepped forward, raising the scepter in her hand. Before anyone could understand what was happening, she slammed it hard against the ground. Oliver stepped forward and reminded them, "Order, all of you." Her tone carried a hint of annoyance. "The hero told you to lower your weapons, yet you didn't listen." Seeing that she had stepped in, the crowd turned to glance at each other, finally deciding to put down their weapons. The obvious truth is that God's messenger has spoken. We shall obey. The leader stepped forward and offered, "We will lead you inside." Oliver approached Gratchen and explained, "Please don't hold it against them, they meant no harm." He frowned and replied, "If they meant harm, I would have sliced their heads off moments ago." Yet deep inside, he was thrilled. These misunderstanding events are the absolute best. Nothing feels better than having NPCs step up to handle things for you. He couldn't wait any longer. "Let's go inside." Gratchen was in a great mood. Seeing the two of them acting so meek was actually pretty cute. He suddenly realized something was wrong. But fun was fun, indeed. However, a new challenge was waiting for him. Maybe because this full dive game is too realistic, I'm starting to feel worn out. After thinking for a moment, Gratchen decided that once he got the information, he'd basically vanish. Everyone entered the large room. The bishop said to everyone present, "I believe we have heard enough about the incident." He smiled and suggested, "It's getting late. I invite you all to return to the prepared rooms to rest. If you prefer not to dine together, we will have staff bring food straight to your rooms." Gratchen thought to himself, "What he means is he wants me to behave, stay hunkered down in my room to sleep, and not wander around, right?" He asked himself if he was being overly paranoid. But with everyone talking like it's a battle of wits, who wouldn't be paranoid? Gratchen decisively stood up. "Role-playing is fun and all, but forcing myself to act like this constantly is exhausting." Knowing clearly in his heart what mattered, he spoke out coldly, "I refuse. I'd rather sleep on the bare ground outside than spend the night in this swamp full of hypocrites." The bishop couldn't believe his ears. "What?" A system notification popped up, "Demons lurking in the village. Hunt down the demon hiding in the village." Choices: ask the villagers or look for demon clues. He let out a soft sigh. Quest just updated. Time to investigate, and I think I know what kind of demon it is. Gretchen suddenly turned to leave, making Oliver worried. Demon Slayer Knight. The Inquisitor was about to chase after him. Please wait a moment. She instinctively reached out to grab Gretchen's hand, but this action made him extremely uncomfortable. He warned her coldly, "Don't just touch me whenever you feel like it." Realizing what she had done, the Inquisitor bowed her head in embarrassment. "I am sorry." Oliver stepped up and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Where are you going?" Gretchen didn't bother explaining much, turning around to walk away as he replied, "Where else? I'm going to kill demons." In his mind, he silently told the two of them, "Sorry, but waiting for you guys would take until doomsday. I'll speedrun this quest and be right back." Hearing him say that, the Inquisitor quickly offered, "I will go as well." Oliver merely offered a gentle, mysterious smile. She looked at Gretchen's retreating back. "You're making this old woman feel ashamed." She reminded her, "Let's go as well." The Inquisitor happily nodded in agreement. "Yes, Archmage." Seeing everyone leave, the bishop was utterly bewildered. Wise hero. Remembering something, Oliver turned back. "We greatly appreciate the bishop's goodwill." She couldn't hide her annoyance. "However, our friend is not irresponsible enough to go to sleep knowing there is a demon right before our eyes." His expression suddenly turned terrible. The Inquisitor hurriedly ran after Gretchen. "Please wait, we'll go with you," she called out to the Demon Slayer Knight outside the door. The Black Crow had heard everything. It silently observed the entire situation, and once it gathered the information, the flock of crows flew away from this place. Time shifted to late at night, the moon already high in the sky. Gretchen walked while thinking. In the end, we still ended up forming a party and traveling together. Oliver seemed to remember something. "All right, now let's find witnesses to gather information." He abruptly interrupted. "No need." She turned to look at him. "Have you already guessed what kind of demon it is this time?" Gretchen suddenly felt exasperated. This old lady already knows full well, yet she's still intentionally testing me. The Inquisitor looked at him with a clueless expression. "May we hear your opinion?" She looked just like a little steamed bun, which made Gretchen want to laugh. He quickly turned his face away. I almost ended up smiling like a proud father. Gretchen replied coldly, "It's hard to believe someone like you is a hero." The Inquisitor reminded him resolutely, "I admit I still have many flaws, but please do not speak such impolite words." She continued to probe. "So in the end, which demon is hiding here?" Gretchen turned his face the other way. Even after getting mocked like that, she still tells everyone not to doubt God's will. She really lacks tact, but it's honestly impressive. He turned around to keep walking. "It's a draw." The Inquisitor couldn't hide her surprise. "So that's how it is. If it's a draw, everything makes sense." Oliver suddenly grew curious. "Then we should look for places with a strong, foul stench, right?" She continued proposing, "If there's a cemetery nearby, that would be the best place to investigate. I heard draws are all born from graveyards." She nodded in praise. "You know your facts well, Inquisitor." She answered excitedly, "How could I ever compare to you and the Demon Slayer Knight?" Gretchen remained silent and thought for a long time, but he was holding back his laughter so hard he was trembling. Watching this girl grow like this, holding back laughter is really no joke. Need to refocus. Think about dark, serious stuff, come on. He connected everything more closely. Thinking back, in the original game, this draw incident was the exact reason the village sanctuary became corrupted and demon worshippers appeared. He was somewhat looking forward to it. I wonder how it'll be in this remake. Realizing something was off put the Inquisitor on alert. She turned to look in one direction. "I smell something very strange. It's coming from inside here." All three looked at the narrow alley right in front of them. After thinking for a moment, Gretchen pulled out an oil lamp. He held it forward to get a clearer look at the alley. Seeing the corpse lying there, he understood immediately. That's right, starting from this very moment, things became far more complicated than he thought. Everything began to take a turn that no one had expected. Gretchen held the lamp and stepped closer, examining it more carefully. All three noticed the color of the dead body surrounded by flies and mosquitoes. The Inquisitor also had to cover her mouth with her hand upon seeing this sight. "Dear God." Oliver hurriedly turned away. "I'll go get the guards right away." She nodded in agreement. "Yes, please do." Gretchen suddenly felt puzzled. "I thought they added smells to the streets to fit the historical setting. I didn't expect the draw to leave such a terrible stench behind just by passing through. Hunting these things solo is going to be so exhausting." Gretchen held his breath and stepped closer to inspect the corpse. He sighed with a bit of helplessness. "We arrived too late." After thinking for a moment, he decided, allow me to claim justice for you. Gretchen covered the corpse's eyes with his hand, so rest in peace. Behind him, the Inquisitor clenched her hands tightly. I will pray for them. As soon as she finished her sentence, she began chanting strange incantations. Gretchen let out a soft sigh. Even though I don't believe in gods or Buddhas, your solemn guidance looks pretty decent. Oliver ran over to inform them. The guards will come to clear the body soon. She continued to deduce, judging by this strong stench, they were probably killed just a few minutes ago. The draw couldn't have gone far. Wasting no time, Oliver used her ability to search the surroundings. She explained to the two of them, this is a tracking spell. She continued to remind them, even though it doesn't last long, it's enough to give chase. Gretchen quickly ran toward the direction showing unusual signs. Oliver sighed and reminded them, making this old body look like a fool again. Let's go. The Inquisitor obeyed obediently. Yes, she had noticed something unusual. I'll purify the demon's miasma as we go. Looking at the light radiating from behind, Gretchen thought to himself, this way, I won't have to worry about getting lost on the way back. Gretchen's mood suddenly improved. Going solo or role-playing is fun, but having a party makes these steps much more convenient. Noticing something, he glanced in one direction. Gretchen slammed on the brakes abruptly. The draw had already fled at some point. Looking at the path ahead, the Inquisitor was furious. Damn it, there's no path left for us to go forward. It's a dead end. Oliver behind them felt a bit helpless. Goodness, it seems it went right through that wall to keep going. She then suggested, we should head to higher ground to find another way around. Gretchen thought to himself, in theory, that's a good idea, but it's a game after all, so maybe I should try this? His action made Oliver anxious. Wait, you're doing that again. Without hesitation, Gretchen leaped into the air. He took advantage of the narrow alley to dash straight onto the roof. He wanted to catch the draw as fast as possible. Oliver and the Inquisitor could only stare blankly at his departing figure. Gretchen successfully climbed onto the towering wall. Standing high up, he looked around to observe any signs. The short moment just now was enough for the draw to escape, making his search a bit difficult. The Inquisitor and Oliver hurriedly chased after him. She called out to the Demon Slayer Knight. Oliver also sighed helplessly. What a reckless fellow. Neither of them could do what Gretchen did, they could only watch him from afar. Remembering his action just now, Gretchen laughed with excitement. So frickin' cool. His whole body trembled with joy. He was already jumping around like this without even using skills, and that feeling of landing against wind resistance felt so real. Gretchen was indulging in extreme self-satisfaction. Don't tell me I have a hidden talent for parkour? Remembering something, he hurriedly focused on the main task. I must find the demon before the tracking spell wears off. Noticing the traces right before his eyes, he immediately understood. So that's how it is. Gretchen's expression suddenly changed. Just a stinky bug, and you dare play cat and mouse games to provoke me? He declared coldly. However, this is where it ends. Wasting no time, Gretchen moved quickly. He leaped from one side to another with rapid speed, and nothing could keep up with him. At this moment, Gretchen's face wore a thrilled smile. He felt as if he had transformed into a superhero. He thought to himself, long live high-tier RPGs like this. Immediately after, Gretchen made a perfect landing. Glory belongs to heaven. His gaze was terrifyingly sharp, seeking justice for the deceased. Right before his eyes was the Mirage Draugr, a creature raised from the grave that specialized in tricking human vision to devour them. It could phase through solid stone to hunt its prey. Gretchen pointed the tip of his sword toward it. This pathetic game of hide-and-seek ends here. All right. Realizing something was wrong made Gretchen freeze in place. He asked himself, I thought the system would automatically spawn the NPCs so they'd catch up somehow. So why aren't they here yet? He felt a bit desperate. If only the kimchi dumpling were here to purify this right about now. This smell is absolutely atrocious. Gretchen was still complaining in his head. Looking in 3D makes timing skill execution so hard. He asked himself, should I wait a bit longer to see if the companion NPCs spawn? Suddenly, one stepped forward. As expected of you, Gretchen. His tone carried a hint of joy. I was wondering how to peel away those heretics. He slowly stepped in front of Gretchen. It's truly a pleasure that you came here on your own to offer your life. Want let out an excited smile. Gretchen, the king is looking for you. A system notification appeared. Demon Pact. Those who sell their souls to demons in exchange for power. One wonders if they sold themselves to demons or to their own desires. After reading this information, Gretchen froze completely. Say what? He looked at the madman before him. Which king? King of the demon contractors? Why is he looking for me? He must have a death wish. What kind of storyline is this? How am I supposed to keep acting now? While he was still bewildered, Want continued, if you get captured by those heretics, I'll lend you a hand so we can enjoy a festival of slaughter together. Gretchen felt something was off. There was no name like this in Legend of Heroes, was there? Looking at the crest on his armor made him stand frozen in disbelief. Time seemed to stop. The two of them stared at each other eye to eye. Gretchen asked himself, I stumbled onto the demon worshipper's storyline. Gretchen recalled, you made a choice. An inhuman power awakened. You acquired knowledge that does not belong to mortals. You had to endure terrible, torturous pain. And then you escaped the shackles of mortality. You awakened a new power. Now you are on the path to becoming a true demon knight. Gretchen asked himself in utter bewilderment. So that's what it feels like. He suddenly became cheerful. Well, I'm going to grind for multiple endings anyway. I'll test it out later. One called out in confusion, Lord Gretchen. Without hesitation, he raised his sword high. For now, he had to keep playing along to stay in character. Not wanting to waste time, Gretchen acted immediately. His power was utterly terrifying, sweeping everything away. He looked ahead curiously. Did that hit? With just a single blow, One suddenly grew terrified. Gretchen let out a soft sigh. He used the draw as a beef jerky shield. Seeing things turn sour, he hurriedly changed his tone. I apologize, Lord Gretchen. My words about you being captured were completely out of line. Please forgive me. Hearing this made him even more annoyed. Forgive? He just wanted to wrap this up as fast as possible. Even if you go to hell, you won't be saved. In desperation, Want hastily summoned. Gretchen's target right now was the draw. It had transformed into a knight right before his eyes. Regarding Gretchen as the enemy, it raised the weapon in its hands high. Naturally, he showed no fear and faced it head-on. Gretchen's power was far too terrifying. Even the mirage draw struggled to resist. Using his strength, he slashed away the object obstructing his vision. Get out of my way. After just a few moves, the mirage draw's body couldn't hold its ground. Seeing things turn out harder than he thought, Gretchen frowned. I hate these amorphous monsters the most. Slashing them with a sword feels so hollow, not satisfying at all. Having no choice, he charged forward again. This contractor guy buffed the draw, so fighting it is such a chore. After thinking for a bit, he decided to take down the contractor guy first to make it quick and clean. Gretchen looked at the weapon in his hand. Besides, I wanted to test this out anyway. To avoid wasting time, he jumped into the air. His goal this time was to knock the mirage draw backward, taking advantage of the opportunity to charge forward again. Using the beatdown skill earlier left a skill effect that applied to the next hit. He had calculated it beforehand. It would still work even if I didn't perform a direct downward strike. Gretchen's eyes turned resolute. Then let's test it. Holding his sword, he rushed toward the mirage draw and struck it right in the face. It seemed he had succeeded. A sudden flash of light burst forth. The next second, the mirage draw's entire body completely exploded. Everything returned to normal. A notification appeared. Slay draw 1-1. Next quest, capture the demon contractor alive. Gretchen sighed and stepped in front of Want. The annoying obstacle is gone. He looked at the trembling man before him. Time to kick the bucket, you pest. He begged repeatedly. I had no intention of touching the Ma Ben Merchant Guild. If I knew Lord Gretchen had his eye on them, I wouldn't dare even if offered money. He suddenly found it hilarious. Turns out this is the place I had to grind so hard for from the start of the game. Seeing his actions, Want spoke up in a hurry. But Lord Gretchen, he didn't give up hope of saving his own skin. That girl is no ordinary heretic. She's the most formidable one, known as the hero. He kept explaining, if you bring her head back to offer to the king, you'll be handsomely rewarded. Right at that moment, Oliver and the Inquisitor hurriedly ran over. Demon Slayer Knight. The moment he saw her, Want's expression shifted instantly. Oh no, a heretic. Gretchen's mood suddenly brightened. Awesome, I was worried this guy taking information would break my character image and force me to kill him. He reminded the two of them, you guys are way too slow. The Inquisitor immediately entered a defensive stance. That person is a sinner who sold their body and soul to demons. I will fight alongside you, Demon Slayer Knight. Seeing this situation, Want looked back at him in despair. Are you really doing this? Why? He kept cursing. Why betray us? Gretchen maintained a calm attitude. Like hell I'd know, buddy. But he didn't want to waste time explaining. I don't even know if I'm on your side, and I have no clue what the hell a Gretchen is, so why should I care? I'll find out once the game explains it later. He immediately signaled for Want to just die already. Not wanting to waste time, he raised his sword high, his expression growing even more terrifying. Pests like you have no right to ask for reasons. Atone with your death. And just like that, Gretchen completed this quest splendidly. Time gradually moved to the next morning. Everyone proceeded into the grand interior of the cathedral. Want had also been locked up in the dungeon by everyone. Gretchen stood in the back, watching everyone's backs. Feeling puzzled, the Inquisitor turned her head back to look at him. He kept his cold attitude, as if annoyed that the demon contractor still managed to stay alive. Last night when they returned, Want was trembling and screaming. Gretchen was about to strike, but he was stopped by Oliver. She used her frail strength to try and stop him from taking care of Want. He questioned her with annoyance. You want to stand in my way? Oliver reminded him angrily, calm down first. Capturing him alive is far more beneficial than killing him. While Gretchen was still thinking, she continued her analysis. A draw is no ordinary demon. There's definitely someone backing him from behind who helped summon it out. She tried to persuade him, be a little patient, there are matters more important than your momentary anger. Back to reality. Gretchen turned and walked away, feeling very happy inside. I knew that full well, but I was just planning to land a critical blow. Because usually, you have to shave down an NPC's HP to capture them. A notification popped up, capture alive, accomplished by reducing a portion of the target's HP. If the target falls, it counts as a failure. Gretchen always kept the system quest in mind. He suddenly realized something. The status board popping up right after that line must be event dialogue. Thinking back, ever since the remake, quite a few new systems were added, which was fun because it felt both familiar and like playing a brand new game. However, Gretchen slowly walked forward. System warnings kept popping up around him, surprising him. Up until now, every single one was a warning that his HP was slowly draining. Gretchen walked into the room. I wanted to tag along to see how the interrogation was going, but there was one thing that bothered him. The deeper he went into the sanctuary, the denser the warning bars popped up. He had no choice but to begrudgingly turn back and walk out. He asked himself, is it because the demon was spawned by my own hands? This must be a hint. The future plotline will explain it. Gretchen suddenly felt exasperated, giving me the priest main quest line only to ban me from entering the sanctuary. What's up with that? The difficulty of grinding this demon knight build is ridiculously brutal. Thinking up to this point, he chuckled, but I like it. Gretchen slowly stepped forward. If I wanted to play a casual game, I wouldn't have chosen roleplay from the start. Roleplay is the true peak of pro players, got it? He suddenly felt intrigued. Of course, to roleplay smoothly, your gameplay skill needs to be top tier too. If you suck at the game but love putting on a roleplay act, nobody's gonna want to party up with you. Gretchen asked himself in annoyance. Come to think of it, with a system like this, am I gonna have to play with NPCs until the end of the game? He remembered Oliver and the Inquisitor. Now that those kids are gone, it feels pretty empty. A bit lonely, and I've got nothing to do right now. A side quest popped up, the villain hidden in the village. Talk to the bishop. Gretchen deduced right away, looks like the main quest will only resume after the interrogation wraps up. He didn't know what to do next. Where should I go to kill time now? The Inquisitor's voice echoed, Demon Knight. She rushed over in a hurry. Where are you going? Let me come with you. He felt something wasn't right. Speak of the devil and the devil appears. Don't tell me this was arranged by the system too. He glanced at her coldly. What about the interrogation? The Inquisitor turned her head back to explain. Having a true hero personally interrogate demon worshippers would be too much of a bargain for them. So the Archmage told me to come along and support the Demon Knight instead. Gretchen immediately realized he got ditched. He pictured the scene of Oliver whispering in his ear, take care of the kid for a bit. She approached him curiously, do you have other business to attend to? Gretchen's expression grew worse and worse. Truly exhausting. He questioned her coldly, do you guys only hunt demons when someone hands you information on a silver platter? As if realizing something, the Inquisitor's expression suddenly changed. She looked at him brightly. What a profound philosophy. I've gained so much enlightenment. High-caliber people like you truly are different. He had no words left to say, I was just trying to level up. Gretchen helplessly closed his eyes tight. This is the exact type of NPC that praises the player non-stop at the start of the game, isn't it? He continued to observe the Inquisitor closely. She's kind of chubby and talks a lot, which is cute. But even if she's cute, at the end of the day, I'm still an introvert, so it feels a little bit annoying. I just complained about feeling lonely and now I find it annoying. Human hearts really change easily. The Inquisitor turned her head back to look at him, but it's getting dark, so it'll be hard to gather info now. After thinking for a moment, Gretchen announced, I'm heading to the Adventurers Guild. She suddenly got super excited. Spot on. There must be tons of quests there, and surely one related to demons. You're truly wise. He blamed himself. Oh crap, I'm stuck in this edgy role so I can't break character. It's not that I hate you or anything. Yet he was so desperate he was crying inside. My character role won't allow me to be nice to you, it's so painful. The two set off walking together once again. The scene shifted to a large building, which was considered the location of the Adventurers Guild. Even Oliver had to comment in surprise, I didn't expect the Adventurers Guild to be this useful. A veteran adventurer's practical experience really is something else. She nodded in praise. I've learned another major lesson outside the magic tower. Gretchen pulled out his badge. Hand over any requests related to demons. Chi-Stan glanced at the badge and immediately nodded. I verified your adventurer badge. But cases related to demons are rare. Is it okay if you take one suspected of demon involvement for now? Gretchen looked at him coldly. Hand over the request board. I'll check it myself. His expression changed suddenly. He knew how to read, but Chi-Stan still pushed the request form in front of him. Even if I showed you, there's only a single suspicious case. Besides, the temple has already stuck its nose into it. On it was information about multiple consecutive deaths of unknown causes in the nearby area. The crime scenes reeked of an intense stench. Reward, 500,000 G. Gretchen suddenly announced, this case is already wrapped up. Chi-Stan was left utterly bewildered. He suddenly felt annoyed. 500,000 gallons down the drain, not a single coin to leech off of. The temple swept in and blocked it completely. After thinking for a moment, Oliver abruptly asked, any news about mysterious disappearances or anyone suddenly acting strange? The Inquisitor also immediately added, it doesn't need to be an official quest, rumors will do. Here's our adventurer badge. Chi-Stan looked up at the two of them. Are you two his party members? He reminded them with an annoyed tone, if you want to dig up rumors, go ask around yourselves or check with the Info Guild. He continued inspecting the badge, a judgment cleric and a sage from the magic tower. Chi-Stan's expression suddenly did a complete 180. Hold on a second, let me rack my brain all the way back to when I was in my mom's womb. Gretchen was completely speechless. That reputation sure carries some serious weight. Didn't realize this game made things so realistic. He kept screaming internally, mind my own business on a night shift, and suddenly VIPs barge in. Hang in there, me. Suddenly, he raised his head to look at the three of them. It's nothing too crazy, really. Chi-Stan continued his story. Lately, though, word among the adventurers is that pickpocketing seems to have dropped off significantly. There are noticeably fewer beggars out on the streets, too. I don't know if there's some kind of disease spreading through the slums or what. Chi-Stan didn't forget to clarify, I don't pay much attention to that area though, so don't quote me on it. That was more than enough. Before he could even finish his sentence, the Inquisitor slammed her hand onto the table in anger. How dare they do such a thing? She couldn't keep her composure at all. Are you saying there are still lost souls who have forgotten the grace of the Lord? Watching her look like an angry steamed bun surprised Gretchen, a sugar-coated bun filled with demons. He pondered for a second, that's enough. This little setup was clearly a hint to accept the quest. He nodded right away. Looks like there are plenty of demons lurking around here. Chi-Stan looked at him with skeptical eyes. Demons? You mean right inside this city? Oliver went on to suggest, I think this case is definitely worth investigating. If any new information turns up, could you report back to the temple's side? He obediently nodded along. Got it. Gretchen glanced at his attitude. Night shift is exhausting enough, and now some big shots show up and force extra work on him. Talk about a miserable life. Oh well, guess he just has to suck it up. He turned around and walked outside. Good thing this guy's just a bunch of pixels and not some miserable corporate wage slave in real life. The Inquisitor watched his back. Where are you going? He casually announced, the slums. The two hurriedly followed behind. Oliver reminded her with a smirk, that place is a hotspot for pickpockets and beggars, after all. Let's get going too, cleric. The Inquisitor's eyes sparkled as she looked at him. I've learned something from him again. She rushed to catch up behind Gretchen. Please let us tag along, Devil Slayer Knight. He was still feeling uncomfortable. That constant health drain inside the temple was definitely an omen. I'll probably end up in a full-blown bloodbath fight with the temple later down the line over some misunderstanding, for real. His pace was so fast that the Inquisitor had to run with all her strength to keep up. Gretchen involuntarily recalled her angry demeanor. How dare you say that? He suddenly felt a wave of gloom. What am I supposed to do? I'm feeling down already, and we haven't even started. His whole body began to tremble. Then again, there's bound to be a super cool cutscene during that part for sure. Just thinking about it gets me hyped. But a game is just a game, after all. After everything, how could I? Nothing has even happened yet, and Gratchand is already getting all worked up. He reminded himself, why stress over future troubles? When the time comes, just sit back and enjoy it. The quest popped up before his eyes, Grim Omen. Talk to the pickpockets and beggars. He felt utterly exhausted. Talk about impeccable timing for a quest title to show up. The Inquisitor walked right beside him. She asked out of curiosity, "Hey, Devil Slayer Knight, do you actually know the way to the slums?" Gratchand cross-examined her with annoyance. What? What is it? Do I really have to explain every single little detail? A hangout for those types of people is the exact same in every city anyway. In his mind, he thought, just find a place packed with red dots on the minimap and that's it. But he couldn't just lay it out straight to her like that. My bad. The Inquisitor wasn't mad at all. Yes, I'll watch and learn very carefully. Gratchand thought to himself, on the minimap, any human with bad intentions or humanoid monsters show up as red dots anyway. He glanced toward the Inquisitor. Whatever. Gratchand assessed seriously, this kid waltzing into the slums is a total misfit. He comforted himself, it'll probably be fine, right? In a short span of time, all three of them arrived at the dilapidated slums. Gratchand was furious when we actually set foot in the slums. He questioned, what did you just say? The Inquisitor was flustered, not knowing how to explain herself. He looked at the situation in front of him, at a loss for words. Her stubborn traits turned out to be the least of his concerns. The Inquisitor shouted in outrage, swear before the Lord and tell the truth. Her eyes turned fiercely angry. Are you absolute certain it was the temple's people who took them away? Not too long ago, Gratchand, the Inquisitor, and Oliver were following the direction indicated by the map. On the way, she kept observing every strange thing in her surroundings, and even a passing shadow caught her attention. The Inquisitor suddenly said to both of them, the atmosphere around here feels somewhat surreal. Gratchand thought to himself, the minimap is practically choked full of monsters everywhere. His expression remained unchanged, as if he were deep in thought about something. He calmly deduced, it's time. Suddenly, Silly unexpectedly charged straight toward him. Right after that, she hurriedly scrambled to her feet to leave. Sorry about that. Before she could walk away, Gratchand stopped her in her tracks. He coldly questioned her, got a lot of nerve, don't you? Her hand began to tremble. Silly looked at him with a glare of disdain. Cooperate, and maybe you'll get to keep your wrist intact. He thought to himself, knew it. There's always an event trigger. I called it in advance, so I even prepared a line ready to go. Based on his experience, RPG games usually mark monsters and quest objectives clearly so they're easy to tell apart. But if there aren't any markers, it means they're walking straight into their own trap. Thinking up to this point, he let out a soft sigh. I intentionally pulled my coin pouch out of my inventory as bait, after all. But Silly cursed in anger. Damn, talk about rotten luck. Right after, the Inquisitor slowly stepped toward her. The Inquisitor's face gradually turned furious. She suddenly shouted, the Lord teaches us not to covet others' property. According to the doctrine, anyone who steals shall have their hands severed. Oliver suddenly stepped forward to stop the judgment cleric. She smiled and reminded her, upholding doctrine and discipline is certainly proper, but you can't just apply it rigidly in every single situation. She was about to say something more, but, that's a sinner boldly committing a crime right in front of us. Oliver burst out laughing and explained, like we learned from the Devil Slayer Knight, sometimes forgiveness is necessary too. She suddenly recalled Gratchand's demeanor. Didn't you just say you wanted to learn about his tolerance? The Inquisitor listened in silence. Instead of being hasty, try approaching this matter with a learning mindset. It seemed those words left her lost in thought for a long time. The Inquisitor nodded, coming to a decision. I don't quite get it, but I'll go along with it for now. So you must have your own reasons. Gratchand just felt like something wasn't quite right. Wait, did a vision of the Buddha just pop up? She's a priestess, though. Is this religion really okay? Silly shouted angrily, how long are you gonna hold on to me? Just spell it the hell out already, what do you want me to do? He immediately commanded, lead the way to the leader of the pickpockets in this area. Everyone set off again to explore a new location. After going through plenty of twists and turns, the group finally tracked down the guy called the thief boss. The Inquisitor yelled out in anger, is it true that the temple's people took them away? Simon nodded as he recounted, yes, I'd stake my life on it. I have no idea why you're asking me about that, though. He felt bewildered. Weren't the ones who took them under the guise of rehabilitation judgment clerics just like you? The Inquisitor felt as though her honor had been insolently insulted. She yelled out in rage, rehabilitating criminals can only take place during periods designated by the High Temple. How dare anyone impersonate the act of rehabilitation without authorization? Gretchen just felt like something was off. Wait, that's the issue here? Oliver stepped forward to remind her, that's not the main focus right now. She turned her head back to question her. What could possibly be more important than this? Gretchen's expression suddenly shifted. I thought this was just a continuation of a side quest. Things are much more complicated than I thought. The temple is actually the focal point of the Devil Slayer Knight's storyline. Gretchen figured it out instantly. Looks like the main plot starts right here. He stepped forward to interrogate. When did this start, and how many people have they snatched? Spill everything you know. Simon nodded as he recounted. Yes, sir, the thing is they started about a month ago. They didn't take a whole crowd at once, just stealthily picked off one or two at a time. His hands and feet began to fidget nervously. It looked just like human traffickers quietly kidnapping people away. Simon didn't forget to explain, no, I'm not saying they're actually doing that. Why would the temple pull a stunt like that anyway? I was just making a comparison. Gretchen was thoroughly surprised. That's rock-solid evidence right there. The Inquisitor shouted from behind. What did you just say? Oliver couldn't stand it any longer either, snatching people away. She stepped forward to question him. Has this been happening on a regular basis? Simon's entire body began to tremble. Yes, completely regular. 2 or 3 times a week, the judgment clerics go on patrol at set hours. He slouched into the corner, which is why I always tell the kids never to stick their heads out during those hours. It seemed Oliver had realized something. She turned grim. Are they human sacrifices for the demons? The Inquisitor stepped forward in shock. What on earth are you talking about? Sacrifices? Why in the world would the church ever commit such a corrupt act? Gretchen suddenly replied to her. Why in the world would they? That sounds way too naive. He walked over closer, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. His voice was completely calm. Believe it or not, any crazy thing can happen in this world. Inside, Gretchen suddenly got super excited. The classic trope where the protagonist grows after the world they firmly believed in crumbles into pieces. I absolutely love this kind of stuff. He chuckled to himself. Even if it's a bit harsh for a kid, events like this are what give character traits actual depth. Awesome, totally approve. Oliver suddenly popped a question. Where did the people who were taken go? Simon tried hard to remember. Well, I only heard back from the kids, so I honestly haven't the faintest idea. Silly suddenly spoke up from behind. I know. The moment he saw her, Gretchen was a bit surprised. She hadn't run off yet, even though the ropes were already untied. She continued her story. Right now I don't know off the top of my head, but I know someone who might. Silly's expression instantly turned serious. Hearing you mention demons, this must be a really big deal, right? Gretchen suddenly stepped closer, making her flinch in fear. This terrifying look made her afraid to meet his eyes. What? It seemed he was in a great mood, pretty cute. I really dig characters like this kid, too. Naturally, Gretchen kept up his cold demeanor. He ordered Silly to lead the way. After a long trek, Silly brought everyone to a completely different location. Monsters here were appearing in countlessly huge numbers. Gretchen still didn't care and kept pressing forward. Sensing something odd, she stole a glance at the group. After pondering for a bit, she suddenly spoke up. From this point on is the real underground district. Silly turned her head back to warn them, so if you want to pry even a shred of info out of anyone, absolutely do not draw your swords. The people inside are extremely jumpy. She glared intently at the Inquisitor, especially judgment clerics like her. They harbor a deep-seated hatred for anyone from the temple. The Inquisitor was about to fire back. I don't care to associate with a bunch of thieves either. Oliver suddenly called out, Judgment Cleric. Silly continued guiding them. I'm just warning you not to do anything stupid and drag me down to die with you. I'm only helping because this looks like important business that affects us all right? Seeing the two of them bickering, Gretchen was pleasantly amused. How cute. He glanced over at Silly. Is this NPC putting on its Sundara cat-scratching act? It's like she's announcing to everyone, it's not like I'm worried or anything, okay? He became lost in his own thoughts. In a world with actual beastfolk, I wonder if making an analogy like that counts as being racist. The moment everyone stepped inside, Jerry was quietly observing everything from the shadows. He kept tracking everyone's movements continuously. A notification popped up. Hostile target detected within 20 m range. The moment he saw the system notification, Gretchen shifted into a defensive stance. Silly hurriedly turned around and asked, "What the heck are you doing?" "I told you not to draw your sword," he calmly announced. "If you don't want me to draw my sword, since you've detected Jacheri's presence, you guys better lower the weapons pointed at me first." He couldn't help nodding in approval, just as expected. "Quick on your feet, not wasting any time." Jacheri made his move instantly. In a matter of seconds, he appeared right in front of everyone. He continued sizing up the situation, two-toned hair, gauntlet on one arm. It seemed Jacheri was a sharp individual, not to mention he was wearing an eye patch over his right eye. "How could I possibly fail to recognize you?" He conversed with a smile. "Well, hello there, Sir Devil Slayer Knight." The Inquisitor looked at Gretchen with curiosity. "Devil Slayer Knight, is he an acquaintance of yours?" He gripped his weapon tightly, suddenly feeling bewildered. "Who on earth is this guy? Is he in the lore? I don't remember seeing any character like this in my background story." Jacheri waved his hand and explained, "Don't get the wrong idea, I only know you from afar. You're pretty famous, after all." Gretchen remained deadpan, holding his character concept intact. He asked coldly, "So, what's your business? Were you expecting me to compliment you for recognizing me?" He flashed an excited grin. "Lord, no. Actually, I'm the one who wants to ask what business you guys have here." He turned the question back around. "What wind blew you all the way out here?" Jacheri continued mocking. "I see you brought a bunch of church bastards along too. You planning on lending a hand in those kidnappings or what?" The Inquisitor reacted in anger. "What did that jerk just say?" Silly rushed in front of her to hold her back. "No way, he said they came here to investigate the missing people." Gretchen suddenly felt like laughing. "Just a moment ago I was thinking those two were just like cats, and out of nowhere an actual cat beast folk guy pops up right in front of me. It's messing with my mind, too." She reiterated to Jacheri once more. "He said this might be connected to the demons." Naturally, he remained highly skeptical. "Hold on, are you saying the demons snatched those kids?" His expression suddenly turned grim. "No way." Then Cherry grew suspicious. Could the temple actually? Gretchen cut him off. "I don't know. Like I said, I'm here to investigate the truth." "Then things aren't looking good." Oliver stepped forward. "Listen, I know the temple's credibility has hit rock bottom, but we came from elsewhere and are investigating this temple as outsiders." She looked straight into Jacheri's eyes. "Please cooperate. Shouldn't we prevent further casualties?" He stood still in place, deep in thought for a long while. Right after that, it seemed he had reached a decision. Jacheri snapped his fingers, giving a signal to his subordinates. When his subordinates appeared, he instructed, "Go report this matter." Hearing this, he was surprised. "You're planning on heading in there yourself?" Jacheri nodded. "For sure. If things go south, I'm more than capable of slipping out on my own." The subordinate obediently complied. "Got it." The subordinate obediently complied. "Got it." Gretchen pondered silently. Thieves Guild. Is this NPC a regular customer here or the head of the Info Guild? He let out a helpless sigh. He looked strangely familiar from somewhere, but it was probably too dark to remember clearly. Jacheri said to everyone, "All right, follow me." He didn't forget to advise, "Just so you know, this place doesn't do waiting around for you." Those words left all three of them frozen in place for a brief moment. Oliver sighed and complained, "To think I'm halfway through life and still running around ragged like this." Oliver sighed and complained, "To think I'm halfway through life and still running around ragged like this." The Inquisitor turned around with a smile. "Thank you, Archmage." Gretchen had to admit it too. That's some solid muscle right there. He asked himself, looking at this quest, it seems like a big payout, doesn't it? He couldn't shake off a bad feeling, wondering if he'd managed to finish it in time before his full dive login time ran out. The scene shifted to a bustling commercial district. Jacheri lurked in a small alleyway to assess the situation. He reminded everyone, "Right over there." The Inquisitor asked curiously, "They led people in there?" Looking at the shop up ahead, she became suspicious. "A vegetable shop?" Oliver voiced her thoughts. "I can feel a barrier. It seems to have been erected by someone extremely skilled." Jacheri turned around and praised, "You've got some skill after all." "Spot on. There's an extremely powerful barrier down in the basement and warehouse." Gretchen's facial expression remained completely unchanged. He looked at the system notification. Arrive at the location where the kidnapped victims were taken. Find a way to infiltrate and locate traces of the victims. In his heart, he thought, seeing the quest update like this is definitely the place. Oliver felt like something wasn't quite right, since this barrier solely focuses on concealing sight, breaking it probably won't be too difficult. Gretchen suddenly asked a question. There's no mention of the word stealth anywhere on the quest log, right? The system seemed to answer him, spot on. He walked straight forward. I'm going in. Jacheri reacted in a hurry. Are you crazy? He reminded him in anger. Guards are gonna swarm us like ants, mark my words. Besides, we have zero clue what the heck is inside. He still couldn't care less. Not my problem. Gretchen was ready for the next challenge. He coldly announced, kidnapping is a way heavier crime than trespassing anyway. Whatever. Gretchen headed straight forward. If you're scared, just fall back. Everyone watched his back. So much had happened that he was utterly exhausted. Being tired, whatever crossed his mind came tumbling straight out of his mouth. He asked himself, they're NPCs, so they'll automatically follow me anyway, right? Being completely baffled, Jacheri turned around and asked, does he always risk his neck like that? Oliver burst out laughing and explained, the group of us only met less than a week ago, actually. She spoke in a confident tone, but I think he's someone who possesses more than enough strength and nerve to pull it off. The Inquisitor calmly announced, just yesterday, we caught a devil contractor red-handed right inside the temple. His eyes turned suspicious. What? A devil contractor in the flesh? She gave a firm nod, spot on. Besides, the Inquisitor's gaze hardened with determination, although I don't want to believe it, if the temple truly colluded with a devil contractor and if they really are gathering human sacrifices. Seeing the situation, Jacheri hurriedly reminded them, there's no time left. The Inquisitor brushed past him, if you're scared, go crawl into a corner and hide. Kid, you fulfilled your duty just by leading us here. Oliver smiled as she chatted with her, your mindset has gotten a lot sharper in such a short time. She immediately shot back, I only came to realize it after observing and reflecting on the Devil Slayer Knight's actions. Jacheri stood rooted to the spot, watching the backs of the two as they walked away. He let out a sigh and held his head. Good lord, what kind of confidence do they have to dive headfirst in there without any preparation? Beats me. Whatever, but it seemed he was still wavering back and forth. After thinking for a moment, Jacheri still decided to head inside. At this rate, I'm definitely gonna die young. The moment he stepped inside the building, Gretchen was already feeling exhausted. Hey, you guys looking around the place, are you seriously not planning on going down? He looked at the group he had tied up with a sense of helplessness. I'm all prepped and ready to head down to the basement here. Gretchen kicked the basement door wide open. A staircase leading down came into view. Gretchen thought to himself with excitement, an underground passage, huh? This smell clearly means an area boss fight is coming up. Wiping out this place and logging off the game would be sweet. The Inquisitor gasped in surprise, oh lord, did you clear out everyone already? The other two said with admiration, you truly never show any mercy. Incredible. Gretchen yelled at them, if you're getting cold feet, get lost. What a drag. You idiots, I've been waiting forever. The Inquisitor tried her best to catch up. No, please wait a moment. Gretchen silently walked down the stairs. He froze, thinking to himself, what is this? A feeling of unease washed over him. The Inquisitor followed behind, asking hesitantly, this is very strange, could it be that I'm sensing an intensely powerful demonic aura coming from below? The Inquisitor turned back to urge the other two on, hurry up, it looks like they're planning to do something down there. Oliver immediately began casting magic. Got it, speed it up. Gretchen thought to himself, come to think of it, this is my first time running a party in this game. I wonder how realistic these party member NPCs actually are. He led the entire group down below. Man, I'm hyped for this. Above the underground entrance, fruits and vegetables lay scattered all over the floor. Deep inside the hidden underground corridor, the group arrived at the door along the basement hallway. The lock was sliced right in half by a wave of power. Gretchen raised his foot and kicked the next door flying. The guys inside started getting impatient. No, is the summoning not done yet? Damn it, why right at this moment? The hero, Jacheri glared intensely at the enemy with an ice-cold stare, while Oliver closed her eyes and began powering up her spell. Gretchen had already condensed blood essence in the palm of his hand. The Inquisitor shouted at the top of her lungs, that's right, your executioner has arrived. One guy decided to stall for time, we just need to hold out a little longer. The palm of this guy's hand condensed a mass of dark aura. Rise, slaves of hell, make your appearance. And so, low-tier skeleton demons born from white bones drenched in demonic aura materialized. Oliver asked for a favor from the person beside her, could you cover me while I chant the spell? He agreed. That's a walk in the park. The Inquisitor fought with an unshakable faith, the Lord is always with me. Gretchen rushed forward from behind. He declared, victory shall belong to my blade. Gretchen single-handedly wiped out the horde of demons. Glory belongs to the heavens, he said with confidence. I won't let the front line break. Seeing this, the Inquisitor was deeply moved. She blurted out, you are incredible, but there are way too many of them. Determination shone in the Inquisitor's eyes. Even if I am still weak, I was trained to hold a shield and protect the front line. Gretchen felt a wave of disgust inside. Dude, no, the ones you kill don't give me a single drop of EXP. But this quest. Don't tell me, a voice resounded. I have prepared flesh and blood for you. Birth the darkness and bring death upon this land. Higher tier skeletal beasts were summoned. Want mocked, Gretchen, you'll pay the price for betraying us. Turn him into the very first sacrifice for the darkness. A barrage of dark auras surged straight toward Gretchen. The remaining two party members panicked with worry. No. Knight, sir. The Inquisitor herself also drew her attention toward Gretchen's direction. Seeing him surrounded, she screamed, no. Devil Slayer Knight. Gretchen's eyes flashed with a sharp glint. A deep blue aura swirled around where he stood, forcing those skeletal beasts to stay on the outer edge. The Inquisitor rushed in and slashed through them. I'm coming to save you right now. Gretchen shot upward into the air, breaking free from that gloomy aura. He looked completely unharmed. The Inquisitor let out a sigh of relief, just as expected. This actually worked out nicely. He brought his sword crashing down toward the spot where the dark hands were reaching up. I'll sweep all of you away at once. The sword plunged down as dark aura seeped upward. A mighty earth-shattering sword intent struck down like a bolt of lightning from the heavens. The Inquisitor had to use her shield to block the flying debris. She gasped in awe. Terrifying, what terrifying power. Juan stood there in utter disbelief. That was the guy who coldly called out his name, Gretchen. He radiated intense killing intent, glaring at his opponent with daggers in his eyes. Reflecting in his pupils was Juan's terrified appearance. Blood seeped from the sockets of his eyes as the immense pressure crashed down. Juan poured all his strength into summoning monsters. Kill him. Kill him immediately. Hurry up and kill that guy. Gretchen broke through the encircle of skeletal beasts and charged forward. The guy ran for his life frantically. No. Fall back and save me. I don't want to die. One guy said in concern. Wait, if we run in this direction, despair, fall into the deepest depths of hell. You vermin! He swung his sword toward the whole crowd. Fresh blood spouted out violently, their bodies collapsing onto the ground soaked in red. The blood essence was being absorbed by him. Gretchen sighed in relief. Man, I thought I was a goner. A notification popped up. You have just completed a short but intense solo battle. You have taken damage, your HP has decreased. A wave of similar notifications burst out. He thought to himself in awe, I didn't expect the skill to be so overpowered. I wonder why they gave me such a top-tier move right at the start of the game. Just how insanely brutal is the difficulty of this game to give out something like this? A divine gift of a game giving away 6 skills for free? The difficulty will make you curse up a storm even after using up everything you've got. But what on earth are my teammates doing anyway? The magic staff in the hands of one member was radiating a dazzling glow. The Inquisitor also charged forward. I will complete my mission as well. Her eyes burned with a fierce determination for her duty. The Inquisitor dashed straight toward her opponent. She slammed her entire shield right into his face. Face your punishment. Jacheri asked impatiently. How much longer do we have to cover for you, mage? Oliver replied right away. I'm about to show off right now. A magic circle materialized above the ceiling, carrying a massive amount of mana. She raised her staff high and ordered, everyone, take cover. A surge of mana poured down everywhere, wiping out the evil forces. Flames burned them up as they screamed, it's so hot, we're burning, help. Gretchen nonchalantly glanced at the scene of them being consumed by the blazing fire. He thought to himself, wait, did I accidentally blab my thoughts out loud? I didn't mean to make them feel guilty in the first place. Jacheri blurted out in admiration, talk about a powerhouse lineup gathered right here. He asked in disappointment, is that it? The Inquisitor reported, Knight, it seems we've cleared out all the remnants here. Oliver said with regret, it would have been nice if we could have captured 1 or 2 alive. Gretchen's gaze flicked to the side. Walk over to this guy, looks like there's a suitable one right here. Want gritted his teeth and rasped, you'll regret this, Gretchen. He was beneath Gretchen's hand pointing down at him. He coldly commanded, shut your trap. You vermin, my name isn't something trash like you gets to speak. Gretchen grabbed him by the collar and yanked him up. Suddenly, the guy curled his lips into a cold smirk. Watt laughed like a maniac and replied, say whatever you want. Everything goes according to your wishes. Because we are merely bugs, we are nothing. However, don't forget that our king still. His wound-covered hand reached up, reaching out desperately. From behind came the sound of fresh blood dripping down. the Inquisitor immediately sensed the danger. She screamed out a warning, "Dodge, Devil Slayer Knight!" An immense surge of demonic aura was rushing in from that direction. A colossal wave of blood aura was rising up right behind Want. He gritted his teeth, trying his best to endure the crushing pressure crashing over him. The surging blood aura exploded upward, sending Gretchen flying backward. The Inquisitor rushed in to catch him with her shield. She asked, "Are you alright?" Gretchen snapped, "Are your eyes just for decoration?" He rubbed his aching body. "My back, my spine's pain sensitivity is turned down and it still hurts like hell," Jacheri exclaimed, completely speechless. "Man, what kind of ridiculous trick is this? Is this really something we can handle on our own?" The summoned monster was a knocker, an aquatic demon that eats its prey whole by crawling up from wells. Its teeth carried a deadly poison. They were facing something truly terrifying. Gretchen thought to himself, "It's a bit of a shame, but since I didn't get a prompt to interrupt the summon, this is definitely a scripted event." The knocker's eyes darted over toward them. Its massive jaw snapped open as it lunged forward, its body stretching out straight at them. The Inquisitor stepped up front. "Everyone, hide behind me." She blocked it with her shield, praying under her breath, "Lord, please grant me the strength to stand against evil." The head of the knocker slammed violently into the shield. Cracks appeared on the ground beneath her feet from the sheer pressure. The Inquisitor let out a shout to boost her morale. For the time being, it still hadn't managed to break her line of defense. Gretchen thought to himself, "Tanking it with pure strength, huh? Unbelievable, those muscles are nuts. Impressive as it is, couldn't you have just dodged to the side?" Jacheri spoke up, "Is taking it head on like this really the play? Lady Mage, do you know anything about this thing? Like a weak spot for us to target while we hold out?" She revealed, "That's a demon called a knocker. Its teeth carry deadly venom, and its weak spot is." Gretchen thought to himself, "Still, since she pulled off such a sick play, shouldn't I do my job as the DPS properly too?" He shot upward, darting straight toward the monster's weak point. Its head matching Oliver's guess that its weak point was its head. Gretchen closed in on the knocker's body. A lethal intent glinted in his eyes. The overwhelming wave of energy slashed down on its head, destroying it. The Inquisitor stared blankly as fresh blood squirted out right before her eyes. The other two were no less stunned. A torrent of blood gushed out from the monster. But then, Gretchen realized something was off. Boom! A loud crash rang out. The monster's head had now been severed cleanly by his strike. The stench of blood spread through the air. Gretchen still stood tall without a single scratch on him. Seeing him defeat the monster so effortlessly, one couldn't hide his shock. He stammered, "What? How could he do that in a single move?" The girl in Want's group yelled out toward him in disbelief and horror. Knocker scales are as hard as steel, but he severed it in one swing. At this moment, Gretchen's mind was just as chaotic as theirs. "I'm wondering the exact same thing." But on the outside, he maintained his cool, composed demeanor. Most people play this game to enjoy the rush of boss killing, like the thrill of breaking down a boss based on its health bar or destroying specific body parts. For instance, the knocker has certain weak points on its body that allow players to defeat it easily. But defeating it was by no means easy, meaning no one expected its head to fly off from just one skill like this. He stood staring blankly at its head. Gretchen stared intently at the monster's head, lost in thought. In the original game, this monster didn't die easily from just a single blow to the head. What were the devs thinking when they designed this boss? Is it over just like this? Is it really done? Or is there some hidden mechanism that's gonna pop out of the head? While he was focused on observing its head, the monster's body suddenly moved. Hearing the noise, he looked over in surprise just as the monster's tail whipped straight at him. A loud thud echoed through the dungeon. Jacheri suddenly appeared in front of him, saying in a panic, "Oh boy." Seeing him step up to protect him, Lord Gretchen was a bit surprised. Jacheri turned his face back to look at him anxiously. "You've got to watch your blind spots, too." Inside Gretchen's mind, he was flustered and panicked. "Whoops, I let myself get distracted by the severed head because I was acting cool." Nice save there. The NPC Jacheri stepped back toward where Gretchen stood, quietly observing his demeanor. He observed Jacheri with a solemn gaze. Deep down, he recalled the game's lore, but looking closely at this NPC under the light, his heart filled with excitement as he got a clear look at Jacheri's appearance. Isn't this the textbook look for a thief rep? Which subclass was he again? I completely forgot. Seeing him stare, Jacheri felt a bit awkward and started sweating. He stammered out, it's not like you're the type to get hurt by a mere tail whip. Did I stick my nose where it didn't belong? Please don't glare at me like that. I'm backing off right now." Saying that, his figure moved further and further away from him. Seeing his fearful reaction, Gretchen felt sheepish inside. No, As embarrassed as he felt on the inside, he maintained his stone-cold face on the outside without saying a word. Yeah, keep it that way. Whether to invite him to the party or not is something I'll figure out later. He turned to look at the monster, his hand tightening around the hilt of his sword. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Jacheri tactfully backed away further. First we gotta clean up this nasty thing. Even with its head severed, the monster still wasn't dead. It could easily stand back up to face him, purple fluid forming a fake head for it. The headless knocker targeted even the struggling sacrificial offering for one last desperate attack, striking at its true weak point. Suddenly, the monster thrashed violently. The fake head made of liquid couldn't take shape at all. In this world, NPCs usually think its weak point is the head. To sum it up, since a full explanation would take too long, its actual weak point is a bit trickier. The reverse scale, that scale growing under its chin, is considered the weak point of Eastern dragons. Legendary hero creatures also have this reverse scale as their weak spot. Usually, it isn't exposed right from the start. You have to beat its health down to a certain point for it to show. He dashed swiftly toward where the monster stood. Seeing its desperate struggles made him speak out coldly. Clinging fruitlessly to life is so pathetic. His razor-sharp voice echoed, all your struggling ends right here. At the same time, the sword in his hand was enveloped in a deep purple light, releasing a sinister energy. His mind was flooded with a mess of thoughts. Normally, thrusting right into the reverse scale finishes the job for dramatic effect. Using a piercing skill would look sick as hell. Having just thought of that idea, he took action immediately, his voice echoing low and deep. The surge of power on his sword began to condense, compressing into a brilliant sphere of purple light. From within the sphere of light, a sharp blade formed, aiming straight at the knocker. The surge of pressure generated a powerful wind that whipped through the air. He suddenly froze and looked down at the ground. Before he could even unleash his move, the dragon had already collapsed onto the ground out of nowhere. The reverse scale on its body had now turned into a gaping hole. The floor was now covered in scattered bloodstains. Gretchen furrowed his brows as he observed the monster. Its body was now glowing brightly on the ground, leaving him utterly bewildered. What was that just now? I was clearly planning to use Earth Explosion. I dumped all my remaining skill points into Earth Explosion. Because I was short on skill points, I couldn't learn the piercing skill, but it clearly activated the moment I wished I had the piercing skill. What is this? A recognition error? Or a game bug? An urgent voice suddenly broke out, interrupting his unfinished train of thought. Ron and the Inquisitor stood binding Juan tightly as he struggled on the ground. She said angrily, "How could you do this to the king? You must not betray the king." Her determined eyes locked onto him as she asked, "Demon Knight, will you execute this man yourself?" "First I need to finish this quest. I'll submit a bug report once I log out," he mused internally. As Gretchen said earnestly, "There's still one enemy left." His eyebrows furrowed slightly as he spoke in a flat voice, "Fine, keep rambling." Saying that, he slowly walked over to where the man was squirming on the ground. "Let's see how much of my wrath you can endure." Want looked at him approaching in utter horror, as the sharp blade in his hand gradually pressed against his neck, terrified to the absolute limit as trembling tears fell while staring intently at the looming sword. His voice dropped, chilled to the bone, "I'm curious myself." Seeing the anger radiating from him, Oliver softened her voice and said, "Wait." Hearing her intervention, Knight Gretchen frowned in annoyance, planning to butt in again. Hearing his irritation, she sighed and explained, "Please kill him as cleanly as possible. We need to submit proof to the church." Standing behind him, Oliver urged, "Come on, hurry up. That guy's been talking so much my ears are about to explode." Hearing the impatience in her voice, cold sweat soaked through his shirt, while Gretchen didn't reply to her words, only frowning as he stared dead at the man's face. Fast as lightning, he finished him off with a lethal slash, severing the man's head from his neck to roll a few times on the ground. Now the dungeon was free of his cowardly begging, blood pooling from his body in a wide smear while they coldly stared at his head, Oliver casually speaking up, "Now let's hurry so everyone can help comfort the sacrificed victims' souls." Suddenly, Jacheri spoke up hesitatingly, "I'm sorry." Hearing that, the Inquisitor and Oliver turned to look as he respectfully asked them, "May I ask you for a favor?" He said hesitantly, "We want to keep just one alive, since right now the dungeon is filled with scattered corpses." Jacheri spoke in grief, "A lot of my comrades and family members are lying in this pile of corpses." His voice turned somber, not daring to look up at their faces as he said, "I want to give them at least a chance for revenge and see them off properly." Seeing this, the Inquisitor spoke up decisively, your situation is truly pitiable, but the law does not allow taking revenge into your own hands. Instead, the High Church will hold a memorial service for the victims." Gretchen said nothing, merely turning his face away coldly, and Oliver watched him leave as Jacheri interrupted with a low, mocking tone, "Ah, a memorial service held by the very church that killed our families? That sounds so comforting." Hearing the sarcastic tone in his words, the Inquisitor raised her voice angrily, "What? Don't you know that devil worshippers are just corrupted degenerates?" Meanwhile, Gretchen stood before a man lying trembling among the pile of corpses. Furious, her tone grew louder toward Jacheri. "Other churches will thoroughly inspect this place, and the memorial service for the victims will be held with the utmost solemnity." Hearing her explanation, he couldn't help but smirk. "Yeah, sounds totally trustworthy. You're not planning to bury them with the devil worshippers and label them as thieves, are you?" Seeing his increasingly insolent attitude, the Inquisitor said angrily, "Impertinent. We only reclassified their crimes according to the law regarding theft." The argument between the two showed no signs of stopping, and hearing the Inquisitor's absurd words, he couldn't suppress his emotions any longer, venting bitterly, "Making wronged souls pay for their sins, how truly solemn." Refusing to back down, she shot right back, "Are you trying to justify theft by using the souls of the dead as an excuse?" Unable to endure her nonsensical arguments any longer, Jacheri gritted his teeth in anger, green veins bulging clearly on his face as he growled out each word, "Who's using what as an excuse?" Suddenly, a figure was slammed hard onto the ground, letting out a cry of pain. The sudden appearance startled both of them in shock, and as Gretchen stepped closer to them, he said flatly, "Arrest him." Hearing him say that, she said indignantly, "Knight." He frowned, looking toward her. "If you had arrested those pickpockets according to the law, finding these vermin would have been easy." Seeing him blame her, she stammered, trying to explain. Turning to look at Jacheri, he said, "Keep this in mind." His voice continued flatly, "If that devil escapes, you'll be offering your neck right along with his." Hearing his threat, Jacheri felt no fear, replying seriously instead, all right, that definitely won't happen." Ding! Foreboding ill omen. Eliminate all enemies. Proceed to the church. Find the traitor within the church. Seeing the notification pop up, he sheathed his sword behind his back, Gretchen secretly rejoicing in his heart. "Great, now this main quest is almost done." The Inquisitor glared angrily at his face. Being stared at by her made Gretchen feel a bit embarrassed as his mind panicked. "Don't look at me like that, little kimchi bun. This is completely in character for me, plus I need to raise affinity with my future teammate." He pondered, thinking that even though the pain sensitivity was turned down, his body still felt stiff and sore, so right now he just wanted a hot shower and to crash in bed, making it time to log out and rest. The moment the thought of wanting to rest surfaced, without hesitation, Gretchen offered a faint smile and said, "Log out." A red notification suddenly popped up, "Command unavailable." Seeing that notification, he froze completely. Thinking it was just a minor technical glitch, he repeated patiently, "Log out." Ding! The red notification appeared again, "Command unavailable." Only then did he realize the severity of the situation, standing there dazed. "Log out. Log out. Log out." Meanwhile, the Inquisitor stood frozen right in front of him, while Gretchen anxiously read each notification popping up. "Command cannot be executed." A long red notification window appeared, every line filled with unexecutable commands. Gretchen stared blankly at each line of red text. His mind seemed to completely stop working. Gretchen could only stand frozen, staring at line after line of red notifications, until suddenly realizing a severe problem, cold sweat dripping off him. A logout error in a VR game? Are they out of their minds? His mind was now flooded with panic. If news of a bug like this leaked out, the server would definitely be shut down immediately, or could it be that the command was locked because he was inside a dungeon? A voice suddenly interrupted the chaotic train of thought in his head. "Knight." The Inquisitor suddenly turned to look at Oliver and asked, "Do you see anything?" She turned back to look toward where he was standing, muttering, "I don't see anything at all." Suddenly, her eyes widened in shock. Oliver's words now surfaced in her mind. Normally, someone possessed by a demon who takes over their body loses their mind and turns into a soulless husk. But on the contrary, that kid seems to have suppressed the demon, seized control, and is actually using its power source. The Inquisitor suddenly froze in her tracks. Her hand tightened around her mace. Her face was full of vigilance, and as she regained her composure, she gripped her mace tightly with both hands, just as Gretchen unexpectedly turned to walk away. Seeing his action, she froze in surprise, asking blankly, "Where do you think you're going?" His cold gaze turned toward her as Gretchen growled out every single word. I'm going to purge the corrupted who colluded with the demons. Standing behind him, the two of them quietly observed his actions, while Gretchen repeatedly tapped the empty air, endlessly repeating a single phrase, log out. Log out. Seeing his strange behavior, Oliver turned to talk to her. His condition really does look unusual, but do you sense any demonic energy? Watching hesitantly, the Inquisitor spoke up. No, it's not at a concerning level yet. It's just that right now, he seems entirely focused on finding a way to return home. Gretchen had no time to care about their words, only able to repeat two words over and over, log out. Log out. Seeing him like that, the Inquisitor couldn't help but say worryingly, right now, he must still be fighting a fierce battle against it. The two of them stared fixedly at his back, the Inquisitor's gaze now filled with determination as if wanting to help him, while Jacheri also noticed his strange behavior and asked curiously, is something wrong with the knight? Seeing him ask, Oliver explained gently, it's hard to rush to conclusions right now. Hearing Oliver say that, he smiled cheerfully, true. You did say you haven't been following him for long either. He doesn't seem like the type to share much about himself. Hearing his carefree words made Oliver sigh, you certainly have a sharp eye for observation. Hearing her praise, Jacheri smiled proudly, I'm just a humble thief after all. Earning a living and keeping fed all relies on this ability to read the room. Standing from afar, the Inquisitor heard his casual remarks and turned to glare angrily at him, seeing which Oliver spoke up to mediate, watch your mouth. Sensing the murderous intent radiating from her, Jacheri hid away in fear, oops, my slip of the tongue. Oliver said seriously, anyway, unless you plan to use divine power to escort him, you'd better finish off anyone contracted with a demon before bringing them along, who knows what kind of stunt they might pull. The man captured by him still lay unconscious without moving, and hearing that, Jacheri looked toward her, his voice flat, would it still be dangerous if we cut all the tendons in his arms, legs, and tongue? The dungeon floor was covered in scattered bloodstains as the two of them chatted while following behind Gretchen, Oliver speaking up, demon power is completely different from normal magic. That method is at best a temporary band-aid. Never let your guard down. Jacheri replied seriously as well, I'll finish him off before sunrise today, so rest easy. Oliver turned to look at the Inquisitor and said, let's head up, hero. Hearing that, she snapped out of it and replied, ah, yes. She turned her head to look for the dungeon exit. Now the Inquisitor was stepping closer to the stairs leading out of the dungeon. Her eyes full of determination, she looked upward, please guide us as we walk the righteous path. Right now, vegetables were lying scattered across the floor of the Zomon commercial area. The sunset was gradually sinking below the horizon. Their group was stepping out from a vegetable shop. Jacheri quietly observed him before speaking flatly, we thieves never forget a grudge. Hearing him say that, Gretchen kept walking nonchalantly, and seeing no response from him, Jacheri continued, and we engrave favors deep in our hearts as well. I'll definitely repay this debt. Gretchen merely responded flatly, no need. Seeing his polite rejection, Jacheri hurried his pace to walk side by side with him, smiling as he said, even if you say no need, I'm still gonna do it. Gretchen rejected his offer once more, I said it's not necessary. Inside, he was actually in total panic, thinking that aside from letting him log out, he didn't need a single other thing. Ding! Bad omen. Eliminate all enemies. Proceed to the temple. Uncover the traitors inside the temple. Seeing the notification pop up, he cursed angrily under his breath, now is not the time for this quest board to jump out. Log me out right now, you trash game. Jacheri sadly took a different path, if you hate this place that much, then I'll be going ahead. He paid no attention to his nonsense, his thoughts in utter chaos, thinking how the logout feature was completely broken while the AI's response sensitivity was insanely top-notch. Exhausted, he looked at the notification board and said, log out. Log out. I manually opened the settings menu earlier and clicked it repeatedly, but it still didn't work. Ding. Command cannot be executed. I manually opened the settings menu earlier and clicked it repeatedly, but it still didn't work. Ding. Command cannot be executed. His hand continuously pressed the logout button to no avail. Now fear began to creep into him. If he really couldn't log out like this, what was going to happen to him? He lived alone, too, as a webtoon author currently on break with no deadlines. No colleagues would ever come to his place to check on him. He had also bragged to his friends about playing Legend of Heroes, so they definitely wouldn't bother contacting or dropping by his room for a long time. Obviously, if he stayed stuck inside the gaming capsule without specialized physical maintenance fluid. He suddenly remembered, right, The device hardware is still working fine. VR gaming rigs always have built-in safety features in case unexpected issues arise. Now he could only stand there in a panic, shouting at the sky, "Emergency protocol. Force shutdown gaming pod." Ding! A terrifying red notification popped up right before his eyes. Command cannot be executed. Now he was left in pure terror and motherfucker. The group standing behind him could only watch his crazy behavior in silence, while Gretchen could only scream out, "Log out. Force shutdown. Turn off. Turn it off right now. Damn it, piece of shit trash game, turn off this instant." Seeing his crazy behavior, Oliver panicked slightly. "What's wrong, Demon Knight? Talk to me." Meanwhile, seeing his crazy actions, the Inquisitor also walked over in panic. "Why on earth are you acting so crazy? Can't you hear me talking to you?" Hearing the screaming, the guards rushed over. "Who's over there?" Seeing the situation turning sour, Oliver grew anxious. "Oh no, the guards." Seeing the guards, her face darkened as she turned to look at him, saying anxiously, "If he goes on a slaughtering rampage here." She bit her lip tight. "Up until this very moment, I was completely blind, knowing nothing at all. It seems there are many things I wasn't aware of, but that's just how life is." She stepped forward resolutely and leaped into the air. "And as for what I do know, I didn't know it beforehand either." She gripped her mace tightly, aiming straight toward where he was standing.